Hey team, Yasin here, and in this training, we're going to be going over ad creative, what ad creative is, why it's important, and exactly how you're going to be using it inside of your business so that way you can go ahead and get prospects and amazing results from your advertising. So inside of this specific training section, we're going to go ahead and first talk about ad creative foundations. And so the same way we've really broken down many other trainings in the past, the foundations is all about really making sure that we're on the same page, that we're speaking the same language. So that way, when we build on the tactics and the foundations and the fundamentals, we're speaking the same language. Okay, so like I said, inside of this training section, we're going to break down the ins and outs of what ad creative actually is. And really, these couple trainings are going to set the foundation for your understanding for the rest of your career when it comes to these topics, when it comes to topics like ad copy and ad creative and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so the very first question that you might have when it comes to ad creative is, well, hey, what is ad creative in the first place? So when somebody says ad creative, what they're normally talking about is usually either the image or the video that actually goes inside of the ad. And so this is an example of what that might actually look like on maybe Facebook or Instagram. Okay, so what you're going to see on here, right, this is a typical example of what you might see on a social media ad, is that typically you're going to have a section where there's going to be copy. Okay, so this is kind of like the green section on there. And then you have the creative. Now, the creative over here, you could either be talking about an image or a video, and that would be kind of the visual component of it. Okay, so copy is the actual words, and then the creative is the visual component of it. Now, there are more details and more nuances of this that we're going to go ahead and get into in a second, but this is kind of the initial foundations that it's very important for you to be able to understand. Okay, now, after we've talked about a little bit of understanding of what ad creative is, I want to go ahead and talk really briefly about why ad creative is actually important, okay? Now, the reason why ad creative is very important in advertising is because there's a very important concept in marketing and advertising called the pattern interrupt. Okay, this is a concept that's actually rooted in psychology, and because human beings have had pretty much the same brains for over 200,000 years, our psychology is the same as it was back in the caveman days, right? We've talked about this image many times in the past, right? Humans have been on Earth for a very long period of time, and we have the same brains and the same psychology as we did all of those years ago. Okay, so what it is that the human brain is designed and programmed to focus on things that are new, is focused on things that are different, is focused on things that are eye-catching, so that way we can actually ignore all of the mundane and boring stuff. Why is that? Is because imagine if you're a caveman and right, you're in like the field and the forest and the jungle, and there's just so much information, right? Your brain is designed to go ahead and filter out all of the noise, to filter out the stuff that is not signal, so that way it can focus on things that would actually matter. And those are the things that are going to be really about, remember, the limbic mind and most of the mind is all designed about survival, right? So it's going to be focusing on the things that keep you alive. And so that's the reason why our brains are programmed that way, okay? And so the human brain has this feature so that way we can make sure that we pay attention to those things that are going to endanger our life and really ignore all the other stimulus and all the other stimuli that are out there. And so here's an example. I want to go ahead and show this to you, right? Imagine if you're driving in your car and you come across a billboard, okay? Now, you might come across this billboard at the top, or you might come across this billboard right over here. Now, this billboard has something going for it because it's bright in color. So normally bright colors get into the human psychology. So you'll see a lot of creative usually try to tap into bright colors, but you can see it's kind of messy, right? It's kind of noisy over here. It's not as like, popping versus this one over here. Your wife is hot. You're like, what? Wait a second, what? And so this is kind of a combination of great copy, right? Because your wife is hot, that's the words, but you're going to see that it's black, all capital, and then it's on the background of that yellow. And then over here it says, get her more energy efficient windows. And you'll see on here, it's like lowercase over here, but then it's capital and bolded over here. That's what we're talking about when we talk about creative and really combining it with copywriting. And so that way you can have that pattern interrupt, right? This one is probably going to stop you and make you read it and then be like, oh man, that's kind of smart, right? And so that's the reason why ad creative is so important, because in the human psychology, right, bright bright colors, simplicity, messaging that is different, something that stands out, something that gets us to stop what it is that we are doing, something that gets us to interrupt the pattern of our thinking is going to be what is effective when it comes to direct response ad creative. Okay, so this is the power of ad creative. Regardless of if that is a video, regardless of if that is an image, ad creative is designed to get the attention of the audience, especially when we talk about specifically direct response ad creative. We'll talk about some of the differences of that in a little bit. But again, remember, it is a combination of both ad copy and ad creative that comes together. It's not just only the ad creative that is going to go ahead and create the ideal results. Okay, so on that note, what I want to go ahead and do right now is I want to talk about the difference between what we call branding creative and direct response creative. Okay, so we've talked about this concept in the past, probably in certification. We talked a little bit about this in terms of the difference between branding and direct response, right? And so when you're getting started in this world of ad creative, it can sometimes be very confusing because you're going to see kind of two different types of ad creative that are out there. Okay, you're going to see branding ad creative, or you're going to see direct response ad creative. Okay, so again, in a previous training, we talked about the difference between the two, right? We talked about branding and the power of brand and kind of the spectrum between direct response and branding. Remember, it's a spectrum. It's not either or. It's not, hey, am I going to do direct response or am I going to do branding? You're doing a combination always, but it's like, okay, where on this spectrum am I leaning more towards? Now, what is the difference between branding and direct response when it comes to ad creative? So the goal of branding ad creative is all about associating feelings to the brand and the public value, versus direct response ad creative is all about getting a person to take some sort of action. So you're going to remember we talked a little bit about this when we talked about ad copy, right? A lot of times ad copy and copywriting is more about direct response, and branding is usually more about like content and value and that kind of stuff, typically, okay? And so that's the reason why when we come to direct response ad creative, it's all about getting the person to take some sort of action. So let's go ahead and look at an example of this to really go ahead and hit this home for you so you can see a visual representation of this, okay? So here is two different ad creatives, okay? And this is going to be ad creative for BMW, right? And this is going to be a more recent ad. And then this is going to be an ad creative for a direct response ad. And this is actually from the 1960s, written by the one and only David Ogilvy, the godfather of direct response, when he was actually hired by Rolls-Royce and Bentley in order to actually sell more cars. Okay, so again, what you're going to notice on here is that the BMW ad here is more about branding, and it's all about associating their brand specifically, right? The brand and the product that we're talking about here is the product of the 5 Series car over here, right? The BMW 5 Series. It's all about associating that image with powerful, agile, intelligent, right? It's not about trying to get you to take an action. In fact, there is no like, hey, call this number, do this action. It's very, very general, and it's all about associating a feeling with the product, with the brand, with the organization, okay? Versus if you look at the direct response ad that is here on the right side, you'll see that obviously there's copywriting involved here, right? So copywriting oftentimes will go hand in hand with the ad creative that's for direct response. And then you're going to see here, there is a call to action at the very end. I went ahead and kind of bolded it so we could see it. It says on here that if you would like the rewarding experience of driving a Rolls-Royce or Bentley, write or telephone one of the dealers listed on the opposite page. Now, obviously, this was back in the 1960s, and so that was their version of a call to action, but you're kind of getting an idea of how this is a direct response ad, right? This was written, again, in the 1960s, and it's designed to get the reader and the viewer to take some sort of action. And so in the same way, when we're talking about ad creative, that's why you're going to see two different types of ad creative that are out there. You're going to see direct response ad creative, and then you're going to see branding ad creative. So you don't want to get confused. You want to understand what really is the goal behind the different ad creative. Okay, now with the other question that you might have once we go over this is like, okay, well, which one am I going to be creating? Which one are we going to be focusing on? So the thing that you have to understand is that there's a different goal that massive corporations have, right? Because massive corporations have billions of dollars in marketing budget that they can afford to really go negative on their marketing and acquisition costs because of the fact that they can lean on their branding ads, associating positive feelings for those people and say, hey, maybe you don't want to buy a BMW right now, but in the back of your head, you've now associated those feelings with BMW, and then down the road, it might be a year, it might be 2 years, it might be 5 years, it might be 10 years, right? But it's all about associating the brand and the product with a feeling, okay? And so branding is a great strategy when you have a longer time horizon. What does that mean, longer time horizon? It means that you are not trying to get a return on investment from your marketing and your advertising money as soon as possible. That's when branding plays a role, okay? But like we spoke about when we talked about the branding foundations training a while back, is that when you're getting started, you don't always have as much time on your hands because you don't have unlimited money, right? You can't wait a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years in order for you to get a return on your ad spend. And so as a result, you're looking to get a return sooner on your investment, right? When that is the case, what you're doing is you're leaning more towards the spectrum here when it comes to direct response. You're leaning more towards on this side where there are call to actions. You are going a little bit more for that right hook a little bit earlier because you have a shorter time horizon. However, this is a very important point to make, and this is a very important point that took us many years to understand, is that even if you are a beginner, if you're taking a longer term horizon understanding of this, right? You're playing the infinite game and you have the infinite game mindset when it comes to business, you also want to understand that you are better off investing more into brand and you are better off providing more value if you can push off trying to get a return on that ad spend over a longer period of time. The reason for that is because it's going to be easier for you to capitalize on your direct response, and it's going to be easier for you to be able to get that transaction if you're all about value and brand and content first in general, okay? And the reason for that is because the more goodwill and brand loyalty that you have in the marketplace, the easier it is to be able to sell your product using direct response because of the fact that you've built that brand loyalty, right? So it really is a balancing act that you're going to learn as you become more and more of a veteran in the online business space, right? You can't always only be about brand and you can't always only be about direct response, because if you're only about direct response, you're going for that right hook over and over and over again, but you're going there and you're really kind of tapping out and exhausting the audience because you're just asking, versus branding is more about giving, right? And so there is a balance point between this, but normally when you're getting started out, you're going to lean a little bit more on the direct response side because of the fact you're trying to get a little bit of a return on investment faster. But again, if you're having a longer term horizon, let's say, for example, you know what, you say, I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't care about making money right now. I'm just going to invest in my brand for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Well, guess what? When you have such an audience and a following and a community that you've invested in, then when it comes time for you to actually go ahead and get that right hook and be able to transact with them, there are going to be people who are going to be rushing to fill your calendar because of the fact that you've built that brand around there. So again, there is a balancing point to this. There's no right or wrong answer. It's extremely individual, but we're just opening your eyes to this spectrum that actually plays and the balance between that. Now, having said that, okay, when you hear us talking about ad creative going forward, you're going to hear us mainly talking about direct response ad creative, okay? So for the rest of the training, when we talk about ad creative, we're specifically going to be talking about direct response ad creative, not branding ad creative, okay? And the reason for that being is because typically advertising, specifically like Facebook ads and Instagram ads and YouTube ads, those are typically more direct response in nature. And so providing value and building a brand and building a community, that's a completely different skill set, right? It's a little bit different than just using copywriting and that kind of stuff. And so we're not going to be focusing on that in these trainings right now. And then down the road, we're going to have other trainings around how to build a brand and how to provide value and how to create content and how to build brand loyalty and how to build goodwill and all of that kind of stuff. But again, right now, when you hear us talk about ad creative, we're going to be talking about the direct response version of that, okay? So I just wanted to go ahead and clarify that so that way you understand. If you hear us talk about it, we're talking more around direct response, okay? So beautiful. That is the side note I wanted to talk about when it comes to direct response and branding. Next up, I want to go ahead and talk to you about ad creative and how it is platform specific. Very important. So now that you have a better idea of what ad creative is and why it's important and how it can be different depending on the goal, right? We've talked about branding versus direct response. We're now going to go ahead and dive deeper into talking about how ad creative changes based off of the platform that the ad is displayed on. Okay, so normally when you're running ads, you're going to be running it on two primary platforms. You're either going to be running it on Facebook, which sometimes now, because they've rebranded, it's called Meta, but Facebook ads is still on the Facebook marketplace, so we still call it Facebook. But don't be confused by it. If we say Facebook ads, we're talking about Meta ads, we're talking about Instagram ads. All of that is under the same umbrella because the same company owns all of that. Okay, so typically you're going to be running either Facebook ads, which includes Instagram ads, okay, or you're going to be running Google ads, and Google ads includes YouTube ads, Google display ads, Google search ads. There's many different types, right? So there's two different buckets that we're talking about and two different platforms that we're talking about. Okay, now occasionally and very rarely you are able to also run ads on alternative platforms like TikTok or Snapchat or things like that, but it's not as popular, especially nowadays. There's a lot of word that TikTok might end up getting banned in the US, and so if that is the case, right, so TikTok has its own kind of platform. It is very similar to how the Facebook UI platform looks. They actually ended up copying the same UI, but it has its own rules, it has its own platform specific stuff. It's a totally different platform. And so typically when you hear somebody talking about ads, they're either talking about Facebook ads or they are talking about Google ads. Okay, so those are kind of the two buckets that we're talking about here. Okay, and so when you are talking about those two different types of ads, this is what they might visually end up looking like. Okay, so this is an example of what a Facebook ad might look like. Okay, so you got the copy and then you got the creative. And then typically when you talk about YouTube ads, those are typically kind of like the pre-roll ads that you have where it's like, hey, skip after 5 seconds, or, you know, they'll play through for like 5 or 10 seconds. And then there's also kind of like banner and display ads. There's also Google search ads. But typically when we talk about Google ads, a lot of times, most of the times, people are talking about specifically the ads that play before the YouTube video or the in-stream ads that might play before or after. That's typically what they're talking about when they talk about YouTube ads. Now, when it comes to Instagram, even though it's in the same bucket of Facebook, it might look just a little bit different, right? You're going to see on here that it kind of looks a little bit different. So this is an example of an Instagram ad, but you're going to see it's very similar to the Facebook platform that we were just showing up above right now. Is that cool? You got the creative here, and then you got the copy right here, okay? And so you're going to see that there is going to be a difference in terms of what the ad is going to look like. You'll see that on YouTube. On YouTube, the copy and the creative is all in the video. So the copywriting is done for the video script, okay? Versus on Facebook, the copy and creative are two separate things. So you might have like a script and a copywriting for the video, which is the creative, and then you might have different copy that might be for the actual body copy inside of the actual ad, okay? And so this is the reason why understanding the different platforms and the buckets are very important, so you can understand, okay, hey, this is how the ads work. They all kind of, function a little bit differently depending on the objective and the platform that you are actually marketing on, okay? And so what's gonna happen here on Facebook and Instagram is that even though what you're seeing here, the ad copy right here, but if you click on that more button, what's gonna happen here is that when you click on that more button, that is when the rest of the actual ad actually ends up showing up. And so what you're seeing here when it comes to the Facebook ad over here, that see more button, this part right here is typically what we talk about when we say the mini ad or we talk about the hook. Sometimes, this could be referred to as a headline, but a lot of times in copywriting, we might talk about this being the headline, or we might talk about this being the hook, or we might talk about this being the lead. So again, the terms can kind of be a little bit confusing sometimes when you're new to this, but the more and more you get exposed to them, you'll understand this a little bit more, right? So you got the mini ad or the hook right here, and then when you click on see more, that is when the rest of it actually ends up expanding out, and then that's where the rest of the actual copy ends up showing. So again, remember, this is specific to Facebook and Instagram. This is not how it works on YouTube. We're just showing you specifically kind of how it works on the different platforms, okay? So again, this is where it can get confusing for beginners because based off of the platform, right? So Facebook, which includes Instagram ads, the copy and the creative are two separate things, okay? Versus on platforms like YouTube ads, there is no separate place for the copy. The copy and the creative are actually the exact same thing that are used inside of the script of the video. So copywriting is still critical, copywriting is still important, but it's actually more in the video instead, okay? So that's kind of the difference we wanted to go ahead and explain to you so you understand, okay, hey, based off of the platform that it is, it's going to function differently so that way you can understand how it actually works on the different platforms. Now, the other thing I want to go ahead and talk to you when it comes to kind of platform specific is specifically around the other bucket, right? So we've talked about Facebook and Instagram. The other bucket when it comes to Google ads is that there are many different types of Google ads as well, right? So there's display ads, there's video ads, there's search ads, there's app ads. So like, for example, whenever you download an app, you can actually show ads within different people's apps as well. So you might have seen this like an image ad or something like that shows up in like a random app that you have downloaded, right? So normally when people talk about Google ads, I didn't talk about display ads, I didn't talk about search ads, I didn't talk about app ads. These are not typically as relevant in our industry. Normally, if you start to get past a certain threshold, as you start to get really big, maybe past like $1 million a month, or maybe even get past like say $500,000 a month, right? $5-6 million a year, then you start to kind of explore, you know what, let me see if I can go ahead and add some display ads, some search ads, kind of some different stuff on here. But typically when somebody's talking about Google ads in our industry, especially when they're getting started out, they are typically talking about video ads. Okay, so I just want to go ahead and talk to you about that so you understand video ads are what we're talking about when we talk about YouTube ads and how all of that stuff works. Now, the other question that might come up as you are going through this and kind of understanding, okay, now I understand there are different platforms for which we're going to run ad creative on. The question that might come up is, okay, well, which platform are we actually going to be focusing on? So all of these trainings that you're about to go through, a lot of them are going to be foundational, okay? Now, foundational trainings are going to apply to all types of ad creative, regardless of the platform. However, because Facebook and Instagram, remember they're the same platform, the same bucket, because they are more beginner friendly when getting started, you can get a traction on them a little bit faster. We are slightly going to focus more on them and on that platform rather than focusing on Google and YouTube ads because they take a little bit longer to get traction on. Now, the benefits and the pros of Google and YouTube ads is that they don't shut down your ad account if you just make one mistake. And so they're a lot more lenient. So that's the pros. The cons is that they're a little bit more challenging to get traction on and actually create ads for. Now, the pros of Facebook is that you can literally launch a Facebook ad and get traction like same day. Very, very easy to do. However, Facebook is very kind of finicky and iffy about kind of their policies. And it's very common to get like ad accounts shut down if you're not careful with it. So that's kind of the cons with it. So again, there are pros and cons, but primarily we're going to be focusing on the Meta, Facebook, Instagram platform as you are getting started here in your ad creative and ad copywriting and all of that kind of stuff. Cool? Beautiful. Hope you understand. Let us know if you have any questions about that at all, okay? Now, the other point that I want to go ahead and touch base on here in the foundational training is the difference between image ads versus video ads, okay? So on Facebook and Instagram, when you're running ads, there are two types of ads that can be run. There are image ads and there are video ads. So again, now you're seeing we're going to start to primarily focus on Facebook and Instagram. Even though there are other platforms out there, we are primarily focusing on Facebook and Instagram now, okay? So there are two types, image ads and video ads. And remember, this is different than YouTube ads, which are only video, okay? So just remember, trying to keep it straight in your head as you're learning all this stuff, okay? So yes, there are Google ads that are image-based, but they are different than Facebook and Instagram. So don't even worry about the Google platform right now. All of the conversation that we're about to talk about is specifically about the Facebook and Instagram platform, even though there might be some overlap with Google. Primarily, we're going to talk about Facebook and Instagram. So again, right here, putting an X on this, we're not focusing on this right now, okay? We're going to be focusing over here on Facebook and Instagram. So let's go ahead and talk about the difference between image ads and video ads when it comes to the Facebook and Instagram platform, okay? So this is what image ads and video ads look like on Facebook and Instagram, okay? So this right here on the left side is an image ad, and this right here on the right side is a video ad. Now, what you're going to notice on here is that on the Facebook platform, copy and creative is two separate sections, okay? Now, the other thing you're going to notice on here, right? So this is the image ad right here. You can see this is an image right here. It's kind of like boom, boom, right? This is just one image that's a collage, like it's an up and down image. And then this right here is a video. Now, this video doesn't necessarily have to have like this banner at the top, this frame with the subtitles and kind of the scroll bar on here. This is the style that we have when we create our video ads, and we're going to show you and teach you step by step on how to do all of that. But right now, just understand the visual representation of the difference between what image ads look like and what video ads look like. Now, interestingly, when you have the actual ad copy, right? So the ad copy, which is up here at the top, you can have that be the same, but you might have a difference in the ad creative. So you'll see on this case, personal training sessions to online fitness coaching transformation. The whole industry, the whole fitness industry is changing, okay? Now, this is the same exact ad copy on both the image ad and the video ad. The only difference between these two ads right here is the actual creative. The one on the left side has an image and the one on the right side has a video. And then on top of that, you see how now you can have literally like endless combinations of different ads. You might have the same copy, but like 5 or 10 different types of creative, right? And then on top of that, you'll see on here, start and grow guide for personal trainers and gym owners, start and grow guide online for personal trainers, gym owners. So the headline over here, or the button over here is the same, but the only difference is in the actual ad creative, okay? And so the thing is that when somebody clicks on see more, because remember, this is kind of like the lead, the headline, the mini ad is what we call this, okay? When somebody clicks on the see more button, the rest of the actual ad creative, right? I've gone ahead and copied and pasted it here of what it looks like. The rest of it is all going to be the same. But again, the only difference between these two ads right here is the ad creative, the difference between an image ad and a video ad. So this is very foundational for you to understand. So that way you can see, okay, hey, you know what? I can actually split test. I can actually see what converts better. Maybe this ad copy converts better with an image versus a video, or maybe this ad copy converts better with a video rather than an image, or vice versa. And so that's sometimes where like you might have some ad copy that's really short, and then you got to make up with a video because of the fact that the ad copy is really short. Or sometimes if your ad copy is really long and intensive, then you can get away with an image. And so you can see on here, there's different permutations, there's different kind of combinations that you can play around with, and there is no right or wrong answer. This is the beauty of marketing, is that there is no right or wrong answer. It's all about just testing different stuff, new stuff, different stuff, putting it out there and seeing if it converts. Because hey, you know what? Sometimes you might have some really long copy and an image converts really well, versus you might have some really short copy or some really long copy and maybe a video doesn't do as well. And so it's all about just the creativity and marketing as an ongoing effort and putting it out there. So for right now, don't get overwhelmed, stick with us here, you're gonna do phenomenal, is that for right now, just understand that when we're talking about the platform for Meta, Facebook and Instagram, okay, we're talking about image ads and video ads, and just understanding that there is a difference between the two. Beautiful. Now that you understand that, the next thing I want to talk to you about inside of this foundational training is really going ahead and squashing some limiting beliefs. I want to go ahead and talk to you about the mindset piece of things. Remember, we try to do our best to try and go ahead and sprinkle and seed these mindset pieces throughout these trainings, so that way you can start to understand the mindset piece of this as well. So the number one limiting belief when it comes to ad creative is, okay, cool, I understand what ad creative is, I understand how it works on the different platforms, I understand how it's image ads and video ads, but so that means I got to be like a Hollywood actor who's like, good looking and in shape, because I'm going to go out there and start to create some ad creative, right? And so this is really where newbie beginner students, unfortunately, start to go a little bit limbic, right? So again, remember, we're doing a big push to go ahead and get our community to be winners, right? We want A players in the community. But unfortunately, it's very easy when you're emotional, when you're uncertain, when you're doubtful, to go ahead and go limbic here on the left side, and now all of a sudden you're like doom and gloom wearing the failure uniform. And the reason for that being, like we've talked about many times before, is that you're now actually crossing that barrier from being unconsciously incompetent. You didn't know that ad creative existed. You might not have known that, hey, it's platform specific, all of that kind of stuff. But now that you are learning that this stuff exists, you are becoming consciously incompetent. You are becoming conscious of your incompetence when it comes to ad creative and creating ad creative and the skill set that is required in order to do so. And so what's happening now is that you're starting to enter the valley of despair, and that is where all the emotions come in, the limbic system kicks in, and now all of a sudden you're trying something new, and the limbic self, your limbic self, right, is telling you, hey, we shouldn't do this, this is not good for us to do. And remember, the reason why it's doing that is because it wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you where you are, because if you stay where you are, you have a better chance of surviving. But guess what? You're not living in the jungle no more, right? You're here about thriving and getting closer to your goals, and that's why you got to become confident subconscious and cultivate that version 2.0 self so you can continue to get the knowledge and the reps necessary to go out there and become consciously competent and then unconsciously competent as you go through that process. And so this is the reason why you have to be aware of your mindset. You have to be aware of your thoughts. You have to be aware of your emotions so you can parent yourself. You can adult yourself. You can coach yourself so that way you don't end up going limbic as you enter that valley of despair, okay? And unfortunately, when you're a newbie and beginner, you're starting to enter that valley of despair even before you've actually taken any action. That's the unfortunate thing about it, right? Is that when you're a newbie and a beginner, right, you got a little bit of knowledge, you started to realize, oh dang, I'm not good at this. And then instead of doubling down and saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take action regardless of how I feel because I'm a newbie right now. Now, I want to clarify here. Some people think, oh, you know what, you should just ignore your feelings, that doesn't matter. No. I'm talking about ignoring the superficial feelings that you are pushing through because of the fact that you are uncomfortable. But when you get deeper and deeper and you have the grit and you have the resilience of doing things that you don't want to do, there are deeper emotions that you should listen to, right? When we talk about your gut and when you talk about actually listening to your heart and actually seeing, hey, am I fulfilled doing this? That's not what I'm talking about right now, right? We're talking about the superficial emotions that come up as a result of you doing something that you've never done before. Those are things that newbies and beginners and limbic lallus face. Winners do not let those emotions stop them, okay? But even if you're a winner, down the road, once you develop resilience and grit and work ethic and being an A player, right, and a winner's mindset, there are other emotions that are deeper, like fulfillment and contentment, after you've already achieved the thing that you are now deciding, hey, does this, do I still want to do this based off of my feeling? But that's a deeper feeling. That's not what we're talking about here, right? We are talking about the fact that unfortunately, so many beginners, so many newbies stop themselves from being able to take the action that is necessary in order for them to no longer be afraid and no longer be anxious and no longer be doubtful because of the fact that they lack the work ethic and they lack the discipline and the grit and the resilience necessary in order to actually have mental fortitude and in order to actually have mind management. And so what's going to happen now, I'm telling you, as you go through this process, all of a sudden your own mind is going to start to become your own worst enemy as you start to surface a lot of limiting and false beliefs around, hey, you know what? I can't create ad creative. I'm not somebody who's ad creative. You know what? I've never really been somebody who's really good in front of a camera. You know what? I don't want to put myself out there like that, right? People are going to look at me and they're going to judge me based off of how I look. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not creative enough to do this, right? And so many other limiting and false beliefs are going to come to the surface. And all of that is only because of the fact that your limbic mind is working on keeping you safe exactly where you are because you're trying something new. And guess what? If you just want to survive in life, by all means, keep on listening to your limbic self. But guess what? You're going to always get the same outcomes that you've always gotten because you're doing the same things that you've always done. And so the thing is that if you got to use your conscious mind to override your limbic self, when you use your conscious mind to override your limbic self, right? We've talked about that brain diagram many times, right? Your frontal cortex is here, and then most everything else is your limbic system. You got to use your frontal cortex to override your limbic system and push through regardless, so that way you can actually take the action that will help you alleviate that anxiety. One of the quotes that I really love is that action alleviates anxiety. If you're anxious about something, it means that you are preventing yourself from actually taking action. And so again, if you have any limiting beliefs about any of this stuff, I would urge you, stop. Do not cross that line from being just a newbie. Again, remember, being a newbie is perfectly fine, but do not cross into being a limbic laloo who wears the fair uniform. Instead, you want to cultivate that winner's mindset, that work ethic, that grit, that resilience, that discipline that winners have, that A players have, that allow them to actually push through and do things that they have never done before, that allows them to thrive instead of only survive, okay? And so I want you to understand that all of those emotions that you're feeling, all of those are normal, right? And it's only because of the fact that you haven't done this new thing enough in life, and that's the reason why you are feeling that. But guess what? When you do anything in life enough times, you're going to develop the skill, and eventually you're going to be able to do it in your sleep. And so just because you haven't done it at all yet, your mind is going to want to freak out for no reason, okay? So instead, you want to actually take a second and coach yourself and realize that, hey, you know what? These are the skills and the identity that I need in order to get the results that I want in my life. So that way I can get a different outcome in my life. So that way I can have a different desired situation that becomes my current reality because I have a different identity and a different skill set that allows me to be able to cultivate that. And so if you are having any limiting beliefs, right? Or maybe you're not having any limiting beliefs right now. You're saying, Coach Yassine, you're talking to me about this right now. I'm not feeling any of these emotions. Well, guess what? I guarantee you, if you've never actually created ad creative in the past, well, guess what? You're going to create ad creative. And if you're not feeling that right now, you're going to come back to this exact training. And I'm telling you, you're going to feel these emotions as we all do because we are all human. You're going to have ad creative that bombs. It doesn't work that well. It's going to be difficult. You're going to struggle. Guess what? That's all normal. And it's a completely normal part of the process. And so you want to do the dang work. You want to put in the reps to get yourself out of the valley of despair, because the only thing that's going to allow you to be able to ascend through this process is the reps that you do. It's not about accumulating more knowledge, right? The knowledge is important. It's a small piece of it, but the reps is what's going to allow you to be able to get through that valley of despair. So that way, ultimately, you can be successful with this. Okay. So this is what I wanted to talk about when we talk about the mindset piece of it. You now really have a very, very good understanding of what ad creative is, why ad creative is important. We've talked about the different types of ad creative that exist that are out there, branding and then direct response. We've talked about how ad creative can be platform specific. We've talked about image and video ads specifically on the Facebook platform. And then we've also talked a lot about the mindset when it comes to ad creative and not stopping yourself because you're trying something new. Okay. Very, 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 very important. And this specifically, this last part that we talked about, okay, if you find yourself freaking out, please, by all means, come back to this training section and listen back to that specific part in this training section, because it's going to allow you to be able to continue to push through and develop that winner's mindset that has the work ethic and the resilience and the grit to get the job done because you said you were going to get it done, period. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is the foundations of ad creative that we wanted to go over inside of this specific training section. If you have any questions, any insights, any thoughts, anything that comes to mind regarding this training, please make sure you go ahead and create a post inside of the student community. Remember, we are cultivating the community here. The community is what's most important. So if you invest in the community, you actually make posts in the community, people are going to see that you're making posts, you're making an effort, you're sharing your wins, you're sharing your struggles, you're sharing your doubts, you're sharing your insecurities, right? Anything that comes to mind, you're sharing in the student community, and then people are going to want to be able to build a relationship with you as well. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the ad creative foundations. And we're going to go ahead and start to go step by step and get even more tactical so you can go out there and create your ad creative. So with that being said, I will catch you inside of the next training section. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the ad creative. Inside of this training section, we're going to be talking about the marketplace swipe file. Surprise, surprise, our old friend returns all over again. So again, you're going to start to see this as a theme over and over and over again, is that the swipe file and the market research is what we are always coming back to, right? Your ability to keep an eye on your market and all markets in general in business is going to be your key to learning how the market is changing, right? We've talked about David Ogilvy's quote on here: advertisers who ignore research are as dangerous as generals who ignore signs of the enemy. Okay, so the first step to most things when it comes to marketing or even business in general always starts with a foundation from the market research. Okay, and then once we have a foundational understanding in place of what's happening in the marketplace, right, that's our launch pad, we can then start to put our own creative, unique, different touches on things. Okay, but very rarely do we ever start anything in business without first getting an idea of what is happening in the marketplace. Okay, now here is the big thing, and here's the kind of the caveat and the warning that I want you to understand here, is that when you are looking at the market, it doesn't have to only be in your marketplace. Okay, I think a lot of times this is kind of a confusing point for beginners and newbies when they're getting started in business, is that they think, oh, you know what? I got to find people who are in my exact market. Here's the crazy thing about this, right? The amazing thing about business is that you are really able to go ahead and learn and get creative from other marketplaces and other industries as well. In fact, some of the greatest creative ideas have always come from other industries and other markets, and you see, hey, you know what? That's working in that industry. That's working in maybe the healthcare industry. That's working in, that's working in the sporting industry. That's working in XYZ industry. And then you can take that amazing idea, you can take that big idea, and you can go ahead and apply it from one market to another market. And so just as a visual example of this, I want to show you what we're talking about here, right? So we've talked about this, we've talked about your chosen market, right? This is your chosen market, but your chosen market isn't the only market that's out there. There are literally hundreds and dozens, if not millions of markets that are out there, other markets that are out there, okay? And so you can learn as you keep an eye on these things. I'm telling you, like, I remember I learned stuff. We took our car for a car wash, and I remember it was so interesting how they were doing their sales and they were doing their marketing. I learned stuff from that and I applied it. There's things that I'm learning from different softwares, right? Things that I'm learning from different things that in my normal life, right? I remember I bought my wife a bouquet of roses and it was very interesting. The customer experience was very interesting. So I learned some stuff from there and we applied it into our products. And so you can literally learn from so many different markets across the board. And this doesn't only apply for ad creative. This applies for ad copy. This applies for, marketing. This applies for sales. This applies for product. This applies for customer success. Whatever it might be, you can learn from different markets that are out there. And just to prove that to you, I want to go ahead and give you an example of Amazon, okay? So if you look at the inspiration for the company Amazon, you will start to learn that Jeff Bezos, who's the founder of Amazon, right? What he was actually obsessed with Sam Walton's book, Made in America. Okay, now who is Sam Walton? Sam Walton is the founder of Walmart. Now, he has since passed away. However, when he passed away, Walmart was doing about $50 billion in revenue at that time, and now it actually does over $500 billion in revenue. Yes, $500 billion a year is what Walmart does in revenue. And so Sam Walton actually wrote his own biography called Made in America. It's an amazing, phenomenal book. Okay, I would highly recommend it. And it basically outlines exactly what he did in order to grow Walmart from zero to $50 billion a year at the time that he passed away. And then those same foundational principles is what the management team at Walmart used in order to grow it to $500 billion a year. Okay, so Jeff Bezos was obsessed with this book. Okay, and in that book, Sam Walton talks about the vision of having a store that sold everything. Now, you have to keep in mind, Sam Walton, we're talking about in the 60s, 70s, 80s, right? We're talking about that frame. There was no internet back then, right? Of course, Sam Walton was talking about that in his vision way before the internet. But guess what Jeff Bezos was inspired by? Once the internet came about, Jeff Bezos had the vision of combining the internet with the vision of Sam Walton and his vision of a store that sold everything. But guess what? Because the internet has no limit of shelves like a physical store does, all of a sudden Amazon could really become the everything store the same way that he became obsessed with in Made in America, which was Sam Walton's book, okay? And so the idea itself wasn't unique. This was something that Jeff Bezos was learning from a different industry, a different vertical, right? And so it wasn't unique. Sam Walton already had this vision, but Jeff Bezos is now just applying it to the internet like nobody else had done before. And guess what they actually ended up naming Jeff Bezos's biography book, right? Now, he didn't write it himself. It's not an autobiography, but what they named the actual book is, you guessed it, they named it The Everything Store, which is, again, another phenomenal book that I would highly recommend picking up. I love reading biographies of, people who are exceptional human beings in general throughout history, whether that be in business or in life in general, because you really get an insight into how they think and how their mind works. Because when you read that, you start to see, hey, this is what it takes in order to have a winner's mindset in terms of how you make decisions and all of that kind of stuff, right? So this is what we're talking about, right? The Everything Store. Why was it the Everything Store? Because actually Jeff Bezos' vision that he originally got from Sam Walton's book became a reality, and because of the fact that he took it from one industry to another. And so you're going to see this over and over and over again, whether that be Uber, Facebook, Google. It was never really about coming up with something that was brand new or unique. It's all about putting different things together, rearranging different ideas from different verticals and different industries and different trends and different markets and combining them. And then that combination is what becomes unique and different. And so when we talk about ad creative, right? I know I'm kind of going high level in terms of understanding how it works with marketplace and business, but specifically when we talk about ad creative, it's the exact same thing. You're taking inspiration from other markets, and that way you're applying it into your specific market and you're understanding how it might work. So don't only limit yourself to your current market, look at other markets, right? You're taking inspiration from many different places. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of the swipe file and market research, okay? So you don't just sit down down and say, you know what, I'm going to create ad creative. It doesn't work like that. What happens is you get inspiration from the market and you combine that with your own creativity. And then on top of that, you really combine it with your ad copy. Really your ad copy and the big idea and the swipe file that you had for the copy that you wrote, right? The copywriting that you wrote. That's really kind of the gist of what's going to create the big idea. So again, all of what we talked about in the copywriting training, that really is the foundational piece of it, because a lot of times your ad creative is going to follow suit from the big idea that you have that is within the actual ad copy. Okay, so when you combine the two together, right, you got your creative and then you got your copy. That is when you have something that you've combined together that is very unique and is coming together to be very powerful. Okay, so that, ladies and gentlemen, is the notes that we wanted to talk about when it comes to marketplace swipe file when it pertains to ad creative. Again, if you have any questions about this, any comments, any concerns, any thoughts, anything you want to share, please make sure you go ahead and post it inside of the student community. We would love to be able to hear from you about any of these training sections and your thoughts about any of these training sections as well. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is this training section on the marketplace swipe file as it pertains to ad creative. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this training section that's going to be all about image ads. Okay, so at this point, you probably are familiar with this already, but just as a refresher to you, we've talked about how there are two major types of ad creative that can be run. There are image ads and there are video ads. Okay, we've talked about the images and we've talked about kind of the examples of both of those, right? So in this case, the ad copy is exactly the same. The only difference is with the actual ad creative. So in this specific training section, we're going to specifically be talking about image ads. Okay, so we're talking about image ads, the one that is on the left side. Now, here's the thing that you need to know about image ads. The thing that you got to know about image ads is that depending on what type of action, right, depending on the conversion that you're looking for, that you're trying to get the audience to take, image ads can or cannot work depending on the overall strategy. This is why it's very important to understand the nuance and the detail. And this is the reason why we're teaching it to you so that way you understand this, okay? Is that although image ads are probably easier to put together, if not they are the easiest to put together, right? There's not obviously like a video you got to create and you got to edit the video and all that kind of stuff. However, they can sometimes, keyword there, sometimes have a lower conversion rate because the audience that you're putting that image ad in front of may not be as educated. But again, this depends on the length of your copy as well when it comes to the Facebook ad. Okay, so again, it just depends on the strategy that you are testing. Okay, so again, just a reminder, the overall steps, we got our ad. The ad is going to a landing page. The landing page is going to go over to a community and then go down the rest of the funnel, right? But this is primarily what we're talking about here. We got the ad and then we got the landing page and then obviously we got the thank you page and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so what's going to happen here is that depending on the strategy that you are using on these steps over here, right, depending on the design of the entire sales process over here, that is going to be what determines the rest of your strategy and how it actually comes together. So let me explain to you what we mean by this. Okay, so for example, if you are using an image ad, then you might actually end up needing more information on the landing page, right? So there are kind of three variables that you're playing around with here. So remember, I'm just going to go ahead and show you this image here. We got the ad and that's going to the landing page over here, right? So it depends on a couple of different variables. We got three variables. We got your copy, we got the creative, and then we got the landing page, okay? Because remember, the conversion that we're looking for is we're looking to get the lead, right? We're looking to get the first name, the email address, and the phone number, right? That's what we're looking to get over here. But in order to get that, we have to play with these three different variables. We got the length of the copy, right? Or the intensity of the copy, or kind of the quality of the copy. And then we have kind of like the sell that is happening by the creative. And then we have all of the text that is on the landing page. So I have two examples of landing page here on the right side, right? So the first landing page over here is a video. So this right here is a video, okay? And this video is explaining some more things. And then underneath at the bottom of this landing page, there's kind of more information that's not in the screenshot, okay? Versus this landing page over here is very, very, very bare, right? It's kind of like what we call a short form landing page. A short form landing page is literally just like a headline, right? A sub headline. And it's like, cool, give us your name, email address, and phone number, right? Very bare. Versus a long form landing page has a lot more content content on it. It might even have a video, right? It might have a lot more information. Now, depending on the type of landing page that you have, that is what's going to determine your strategy on the creative and the ad copy side of things, okay? So if you had a very long ad copy and then you have a short kind of image ad right here, just an image ad, right? It's very bare, right? There's not a lot of selling that's going on there, right? And when I say selling, I'm not saying selling like getting money from them, but selling them on taking the step. And what is that step that we want them to take? What is that conversion? What is that action? It's giving us their information, right? It's actually opting in and taking that information, right? So depending on what that might look like, you might have to change and tweak the strategy according to that. So for example, if I have a short form landing page, then I know that there's more weight that has to be carried by the actual ad. And so I might have to use a video ad, and I might have to have a little bit longer form copy that actually converts better because I know that my landing page doesn't have as much information. Versus if, for example, I have a longer form landing page, I know that the ad, right? The ad over here, let me clear this out here. I know that the ad only has to sell them to get to the landing page, okay? And then once they're on the landing page is going to sell them, right? The landing page is going to carry more of that weight for them to be able to go ahead because there's more information on the landing page for them to give their information. But in this example here at the bottom, I know that the landing page doesn't have that much information, right? It's just like, hey, there's a headline and that's it. So I know that the ad itself has to not only sell, hey, click on the link and go to the landing page, but it also has to sell what is in the offer, right? It has to sell like, hey, why should they actually put in their name, email address, and phone number? So this ad over here has to do more of the weight carrying. And so that's the reason why the strategy is going to have to be informed based off of that. I hope this is making sense. This is really a foundational behind the curtains understanding that took us a very long time to understand how this works, because it's kind of like a knob, or you kind of think of it like a scale in which different parts of the strategy have to carry different weight in order for that person to take action. And so you got to mess around with these three variables. Hey, maybe the copy's got to be longer. Maybe the creative's got to be a little bit more, fancier, intense, or more, maybe a little bit more explanatory, maybe a little bit more, content oriented to educate them a little bit more. All of these are different things that are nuances and details that have to be taken into consideration in order to actually be successful with the advertising campaign. Okay. And so this is why you want to understand the behind the scenes of this, so that way you can be successful with how all of this plays. So this is what we say when we say that the image ad can be successful, but it just depends, right? It depends on the strategy, right? If you are just doing like very little, like you're just throwing up, let's say, for example, a very short copy, and then you're just throwing up an image, and then your landing page is very bare, right? So let's say, for example, you're taking them from short copy and then image, and then you're taking them to a landing page that looks like this. It's probably not going to work, right? Versus if you go like, you know what, short copy or, medium copy, and then you got an image, and then you're taking them to a landing page that has a lot more information. Okay, cool. That might actually work. Versus you might need to have a video ad, and you can't get by with just an image ad because you know that your landing page is, XYZ. It's not as long form as you wanted it to be. So that is kind of the overall strategy when it comes to image ads. The other thing that is important to understand when it comes to image ads is an understanding of the pattern interrupt. Okay, so if you're going to be running an image for an ad on Facebook and Instagram, the biggest thing that you have to understand is that you must include some type of pattern interrupt, okay? Because there is no video that goes along with your image, you have to make sure that your image gives people a reason to stop scrolling and actually pay attention to your ad. Otherwise, they're just going to keep on scrolling past your ad, right? There's no reason why they would actually want to pay attention. And so you're going to notice that in this example of our image ad, there's bright colors, right? When you talk about the online coach side of things, there's like the ocean, there's like the beach, right? There's the bright colors. We've even gone ahead and increased the saturation. So that way on this image over here, it pops a lot more. And so that way there's a stark contrast between, hey, there's a personal trainer. You see, he's kind of like, it's dull. We even kind of decreased the brightness of this image over here. And we made this one pop over here. So it's like a pattern interrupt. It's like, whoa, what is that? And so then they're going to go ahead and stop. And that is all on purpose. And that is designed, right? And we've talked about pattern interrupts in the past because that's when it comes to ad creative, right? It's very important to go ahead and catch that person's attention. So that way, even the bright colors are going to pop. When it comes to image ads, it becomes even more important. Now, the other question that might come up when we talk about image ads is, hey, can I literally just run anything as an image ad? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like all you got to do is just resize it and make sure that it looks like pretty solid. But if you're talking about just running anything, you can just pretty much run anything as an image ad. However, However, right? But, really big but over here, is that you have to make sure that it is compliant according to Facebook's ad policy, okay? So as long as it is compliant, you're good to go. But here's the thing. It has to be compliant to Facebook ads policy, okay? Like if you're running, let's say, for example, health coaching ads, you cannot run before and after pictures. If you run before and after pictures, you will have your account banned by Facebook and you will not be able to do advertising. And then that's just one of the rules. There's even rules in terms of what you can say in your copy. You can't call people out specifically, all of this stuff. Again, this is one of the cons of the Facebook ads platform, is that they're very, very finicky and very sensitive around their advertising. That probably has to do something with the fact that they went through that entire legal thing a couple of years ago when it came to kind of like, offensive language and all that kind of stuff, versus Google and YouTube are a lot more lenient, but they're just harder to get traction on. Okay. So we can also create a whole separate training down the road about breaking down the Facebook ads policy more in depth. So that way you don't get your Facebook ad account banned. We have actually only had our Facebook ad account banned once in the last like 5 years. And it sucked really bad. We had to create a new one. Sometimes you can't even create a new one and then you're like stuck, which is terrible, right? It's like if you don't have multiple businesses and that kind of stuff. So it's very important to understand that, okay, if I'm going to be running an image ad, but not only image ad, even video ads in my copywriting, I have to be compliant to Facebook ads policy. Okay. So now that you understand, cool, I can pretty much run anything as an image ad. Of course, you got to make sure it's a pattern interrupt. It kind of goes along with your big theme, all of that good stuff, right? That way it has a good chance of converting. Now that you understand that, let's go over a couple different examples when it comes to free asset and community creative. Now, the normal warning we've talked about before applies over here as well. Please, these are for example purposes only. Any student that tries to be a remote control student and follow blindly and spoon-fed and literally just takes the exact same creative and then runs it, no comment, facepalm. Okay, so I'm going to make this extremely clear right now in all caps like we have done in the past before, okay? These are just examples. There is nothing special about these examples. There's no like mystical, gospel from God, magical, mystical, somehow kind of creative. These are just examples that we are showing to you. And the reason why you cannot just run these exact ad creatives is because the ad platforms know that there's something called ad fatigue. And a lot of times what we've seen in the past when we've just gone ahead and given out ad creative and say, hey, just run this exact creative. Guess what? It doesn't work. There's higher CPMs. It doesn't work really well. Okay, so these are just examples, and then that way you can go ahead and model them, or even look at the other marketplace swipe file and model other creative that might even be more relevant that is out there right now. Okay, but again, you're just looking at this for creativity purposes. So let's go through a couple of these. So this is back when we were running health and wellness ads. These ads did really well for us. So it was kind of like you see bright colors. There's like a mixture of like food, and then it's like a collage of like then there's this lady over here, which was one of Coach Malik's clients in person, right? And we had her send us a picture like that. You'll see food worked really well for us for a long period of time. So this was over here, Fit Over 40 28-day challenge, right? This was one that we ran for a long time. So again, you'll notice bright colors on the food is kind of like popping, and it kind of goes around with the collage there. It doesn't have to be like this. This is just creativity around what it is that we were testing. We used to run a lot of collages. I don't know why, but something around collages really worked really well for us at one point. So for image ads, that was something that we had tried. Okay, so you see on here, this was something that ran really well for us as well. Now, that's just one example. These are some other examples of free guide ads that we've ran that worked really well for us as well. So this was one over here. This is Coach Malik. Obviously, this is an ad creative that was for personal trainers and gym owners. And so that's why this creative actually worked for that audience. I'm not saying that you got to have a, shredded back. This is actually what we used to call the shredded back was the name of this specific ad creative. So this is Coach Malik. This was his dog back in the day. This was at his gym. And this is a picture that he snapped. And then that way we ran it as an ad creative for the free guide. Okay. Here's another example. This is another one that we went ahead and printed the cover of the ad creative. And then we had Muhammad right over here, Coach Malik, right? He's holding it, right? Looks like very popping. We had him wear like a salmon shirt over here. So it popped a little bit more. We increased the saturation. This is another example, right? It's not collage based. It's just another example of something that might stop someone. So again, it may or may not work, but it was worth testing for us at that time. Another example of a free guide ad that we have ran in the past. Again, you'll notice popping colors, really bright, simple, looks like it's very easy to read. It's not like messy. It doesn't look noisy, anything like that. These are actually 3D mock-ups that are actually able to be created over in Canva. Really easy to be able to create. Again, pops, pattern interrupt. Again, there's no collages on this one, just creativity, right? And then we went ahead and said, you know what, let's go ahead and try a couple other things on here. Here's another one on here, free guide to learn how to be able to grow online. Again, just a background that pops was something that we tested. These are just different ad creative that tested. I don't remember if these ones actually performed really well off the top of my head, but again, they're just examples that we are showing for you, okay? These ones really worked well for us, which is kind of like before and afters. And I said before and afters, you're going to get banned on Facebook. Specifically, I'm talking about before and afters that are like, you know, those shirtless, like, hey, this was his before body and this was her before body, right? His or her before body, his or, you know, his and his before body, whatever it might be. Those will get you banned. But these are kind of like before and afters in terms of like, hey, this was Coach Malik when I used to be a personal trainer, right? I used to wake up at 4 a.m. I'm burnt out, all this kind of stuff. And now as an online coach, I can travel, I got freedom, I can coach clients from anywhere. And now you kind of got that contrast and the right side is popping more than the left side. So again, just an example, okay? Here is another example that worked really well for this specific audience was the personal trainer online coach kind of contrast there between this one and this one. Again, there are a gazillion and two different types of image creative that can be created, okay? Please, 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 please. I don't know how much more I can say this. There is nothing mystical, special, magical about these examples. These are just examples that we have put together over the years that were our ideas that we came up with. But as you are going in the marketplace, right, you're looking at other people who are in other marketplaces, you're going to see image ads and you want to get inspiration to see what might be actually working, okay? The other note I want to go ahead and mention over here is that in the last few years, our skills around video have become so much better because we've actually invested in the time to learn how to be able to create great video ads. We're going to go ahead and pass all of those years of learning onto you as well in some of the upcoming trainings. But because of the fact that we developed our skills around video, we now mainly run video ads because of the fact that we have seen that they convert better than image ads. Now, that does not mean that you only have to run video ads. In fact, it is probably worth testing even for us to go back and create some image ads and see if they convert well for us. That is the thing about advertising and marketing, is that you're just creating different creative in different ways because the marketplace is going to get fatigued of seeing the same creative, right? Different people will respond to different creative. And so yes, right now, over the last couple of years, we have been running a lot more video ads. However, even for us, we are thinking back and doing some image ads as well. And so you can absolutely test all of the above. You can test some image ads, you can test some video ads. In fact, the more creative that you have to test, the more successful you will be. One of our mentors actually told us that they create 5 to 10 new pieces of ad creative every single week as they are testing this. Now, obviously that is at a higher level. We're talking about, you know, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, right? But at the end of the day, it is very, very, very beneficial to have more than one ad creative that you are creating. And that might be image ads, it might be video ads, or all of the above. Okay. So hope that makes sense. That is a couple different examples that we wanted to go ahead and show you. Next up, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and jump into a tactical training that's going to walk you through the step-by-step of what it might actually look like to create an image ad. Okay, so for that, we're actually going to go ahead and jump over to a tactical mini training that's going to walk you through that step-by-step. So let's go ahead and do that right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this quick mini training where we're going to walk you through the step-by-step process on how to create an image ad. Now, this is going to be very tactical as we go through this. So we want to make sure that we walk you through everything that you need to create a successful image ad. So let's jump in and start knocking this out of the ballpark. So step number one in creating an image ad is we have to make sure that you can actually find inspiration, okay? Because before you start creating the ad, you want to take the time to look through your marketplace swipe file, okay? And the reason we look through the marketplace swipe file is purely for inspiration. It's not going to happen where you sit down and all of a sudden you are able to create an ad from thin air. You're going to need to consume some stuff that'll allow you to create inspiration for the ad. Okay. And there's two ways to go about this. You can look at what other people are producing in your industry. Okay. So you can stay within your industry. So if you're helping fathers, if you're helping women, if you're helping moms, and you have your marketplace swipe file of other people that are doing this, you can actually find their ads and see what they are doing. Now, what you could also do is look at other ad accounts, okay? Other ad accounts that are outside of your industry that have nothing to do with who you're helping and what they're doing, but all we're trying to do is gather inspiration from them, okay? And this is going to be the most difficult step because once you find something that inspires you, once you find 2 to 4 pieces or different ads that inspire you, then creating your ad becomes very, very, very easy. Okay. Now, the way that we find inspiration for our ads is we use the Facebook ads library. Okay. And this is where you can find people from your marketplace swipe file, but you can also search for terms as well. So we've put a link right here for you to be able to find this, but you can also find this by just by searching in Google, Facebook ad library. Okay. Now, inside of the ad library should look something like this. Okay. There's three settings that we're going to set up to make sure that we get the optimal results that we want. First is going to be location. Then it's going to be the category, and then you're going to select or type in the category that you are looking for. So first, as far as location goes, we want to make sure that we keep it to United States. Why? Because if you search all, you're going to be able to see ads from all over the world with different languages, and it's going to be hard to decipher them. And so that is why we recommend just keep it really simple, keep it to United States. Then under categories, we just recommend going all ads. We don't really differentiate because, again, we're going for inspiration. And then you just type in the keywords that you would like. So if I am working with men and I want to help them lose weight, what I would do is I would type in weight loss for men. So you can type in, as you can see, I was doing some searches here. You can type in weight loss for men, and then you just scroll through and you'll be able to find other pages that are running ads to help men lose weight. Okay. So you can see this one right here, Fit Father Project, right? They started running ads on April 4th. And so you can go through this, and what you want to do as you find inspiration, you're like, wow, okay, I really like this ad. Okay. What you're going to do is you can actually go ahead and save the link to the ad. And how you do that is you click these three dots right here. Okay, you click the three dots. Then you're going to go ahead and just copy the ad link. And then guess where your ad link goes? Your ad link is going to go inside of your marketplace swipe file. Okay. And if this individual or this page was not a part of your swipe file, you can actually add this as a part of your swipe file because you're adding more things onto your swipe file that you're actually learning from. Okay. And so that's one way that you can actually go throughout the process. You can also type in generic words that are related to your 4 Ps. Okay. And so what that would actually look like is, let's say you're just helping people with weight loss. And so we're just typing weight loss right here. Now, weight loss is a little bit more generic. So you'll see a whole bunch of ads from weight loss clinics and different things of that sort that are all related to weight loss. Okay. So there's 2 ways to go about it. You can search for pages, or you can search for specific terms, or you can search for phrases that are specific to your people, right? Using your 4 Ps. And so really the goal of all of this, so if I was to go for weight loss for men, if I was to go back to that, the goal of all of this is, after you search, the goal is for you to find 2 to 4 ads that inspire you. Okay. Because 2 to 4 ads, it'll actually allow you not to be, because if you have one ad and you're trying to inspire from yourself from one ad, it's going to be as if you're copying that ad because you don't have other sources to pull from. That's why we recommend having multiple sources that you can pull from. That way, it actually allows you to steal like an artist and have this bucket of inspiration to draw from, and it allows you to actually pull into your creativity. Okay. Now, one last thing I do want to show you is that this filters feature up here. So as you're searching the Facebook ads library, they have something called the filters feature. Okay. And then what you could do is you can filter ads by languages. You can filter ad by advertisers. You can filter ads by platform, by media type. You can also do it by active status or inactive status. Okay. So let me walk you through what all this means. So language obviously is just the language that the ad is in. Advertisers is who is running the ad. Okay. So as we just saw, this advertiser was the Fit Father Project. So if I select this, I'm only going to see ads from the Fit Father Project. Okay. So I like to keep all of this open. Then in platforms, you can actually just select it to Facebook, and Instagram. So you only see these two, okay? And then from there, if I want to just go all media types, this is, do I want to be able to see the images with no text? Do I want to see memes? Do I want to be able to see images and memes? Now, for the sake of us creating an image ad, we can actually go ahead and select images and memes, and then you can come over here and you can select active status, inactive status, and go about it that way as well. And then we apply the filters, and what it's going to do, it's going to spit out ads that are images that we can utilize or draw inspiration from. And then if you find an ad that you draw inspiration from and you're like, this is really awesome and I really want to utilize this, it's more loading right here. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I found this one. Stefan Vegan Calisthenics. Okay, so this is kind of cool. I like the layout of this. I'm going to go ahead and hit this, and I'm going to copy the ad link. Okay, so as you go through this process, as you find the ads that you can draw inspiration from, this is a really cool ad right here. I kind of just like the way how everything is laid out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy the ad, and then obviously I'm adding this to your swipe file. Okay, now once you've done this, let's move on to step number 2, which is creating everything inside of Canva. So what you're going to do is you're going to open up Canva. And once you're inside of Canva, you're going to go over here and select create a design. Okay. And then when you create a design, what we're going to search for is we're going to search for Instagram post, and we want to aim for square. Okay. 1080 by 1080 pixel is what we are aiming for. Cool. Now you're going to select that, and what it's going to do is it's going to open up a file for you. You can actually save this as, I'm just going to call this RWA image ads, okay? And then you guys can just call this whatever it is that you want. Then from here, you're going to actually pull side by side. So if I had the other window open, I would open the ad side by side. So I'd have the Canva window open here, and then the link that I copied of the ad. So I really liked it, right? I copied the link. And so what I would do is I would open it up side by side, or I would screenshot the ad so I can actually see it and be like, okay, these are the elements that I want to pull from the ad. Okay, so I'm zooming in here. I really like the way this is laid out. And then you're taking a look and you're just kind of like taking elements to it. So I kind of like the way the 6-week weight loss challenge is. I'm actually just going to bring that similar text over here. Okay, then you would pick another ad, and then you would just create different elements from different ads into your image ad. Okay, so I can add that here. So I'll give this as an example, and I would just go and join free community, right? And then I would make this really big. And so what you want to do is you want to just draw a lot of inspiration from other places so that you can actually create your ad. Okay, now as you're going about this, you can add images to the back here. So if I'm doing weight loss for men, okay, so I like this. Now I'm going through this very quickly for you guys because obviously I want to make sure that this is a mini training and you guys can actually see the direct benefits of how this process works. So let's pretend this is the ad that I created. Obviously this is not going to be, I would put a little bit more thought to this. Then what you want to do is you want to create multiple variations of it. So you can come right over here, you can duplicate the page. Now at the bottom, you can go ahead and create different variations, change the background image, change the text. Usually we only like to change one variable, which is going to be just the image, or we change the color. And what we want to do is we want to have 2 to 3 variations of the ad, because that allows us to actually test different things and we actually are better at finding a winner. Okay. And so then I would change this right here, join my free group. Let's say I'm just going to use this as an example. And then I change the background image. Let's find background image, lean men. Okay. Let's see photos. Okay. Lean men doesn't work. Let's go fit men. Bam, so we find this, and then we'll bring it over here. Okay, so I like that image. That image is a little too big, so let's edit it a little bit, right? And so what I'm doing is, notice I'm just making the edits to this. So I got 1 ad, I got 2 ad, and let's say I'm just gonna create a different variations of this. Again, this is not how I would actually create it. I would actually take the time to properly create this. Now let's add this image in here to make sure it's here. And now I've got 3 variations of the ad, okay? Now, if you guys want a little bit more inspiration, we have this inspiration for you guys laid out right here that you can find. These are templates of our ads that we've ran. And so you guys can actually pull these templates in. And again, use these as inspiration only, okay? Do not copy these ads. It will not work. Facebook knows when people are copying ads. And so you want to make sure that you are creating your ads just using these as inspiration, okay? Now, back at this, once you have created your ads and your variations of the ad, then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and actually export the ads, and we want to save them so you can actually pull them in later. Okay, so once you finalize them, export the ads and save it. So what you would do is you'd go to share, you'd go to download, and then you would go ahead and download them as a PNG and save this wherever it is that you want to go ahead and save this on your computer. You can save this on your Google Drive, wherever it is that you want to go ahead and save that. So that is how you would actually create the image ads. Okay. Again, I do want to say this, use the inspiration, find different things from the Facebook ads library. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. That way you guys can actually create different variations of the things that you like. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's jump into a quick bonus section on how to use the 3D book cover mockup for your free asset. Okay. So what is the free book cover mockup? So if your free asset is a guide or it's a PDF, then this will allow you to take that PDF or the guide and turn like the cover of that into a booklet image. So it'll actually look like a really cool book. You can actually make it look like a reader. You can put it on a phone. You can actually take it and put it this way. You have a different versions of how you can actually create it. And then they have multiple composites where you can have a book and it's on the iPad version. So you can actually have fun with this and actually make your guide look more premium because now it actually looks like a book and it's a little bit more eye-catching as well. Okay. And so we've actually linked the site here for you guys. It's DIYbookcovers.com. You can also find the link right here. And so the first thing that you want to go ahead and do is you want to go ahead and find your guide, whatever guide it is that you are using. So let's go ahead and open up this guide. So this was our guide that we will use. And then we'll go ahead and actually screenshot the guide. So I'm going to go ahead and actually screenshot the front page of the guide. Now, obviously, I'm going through this very quickly for you guys, but you guys will actually take the time to go through this and make this really proper. So once you've screenshotted this, you want to go ahead and you want to go back to the 3D book cover, and then you want to go ahead and select what type of book cover do you want. Okay. Do you want this one where you have it on multiple screens? Do you want it just on two? So for the sake of this, right, I'm going to select this one right here. Once you've selected it, you're going to go ahead and select next. Okay. Then what we want to do is we want to go ahead and browse and upload the image. Okay. So you're going to select browse. Okay. I have the image right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and select open. Now, once you select open, it'll feel weird because you're like, whoa, why is it not showing up? You have to hit upload. It's a weird thing where you have to hit upload once you've actually selected the file, and you can see the guide image shows up right here, and the bar here will actually show 100%. Once you've done that, we're going to go ahead and hit next. Okay. Once you've hit next, going to step number 3 is we're going to go ahead and actually download this. Now, this is going to give you 2 options. Okay. One option is PNG and one option is JPEG. What is the difference? So the PNG is an image with no background, and I'll show you why that is very, very, very key, okay? Then the JPEG is an image with a white background. We recommend using the PNG because you can easily place this in your ad. So I'll use this as an example. So let's go ahead and download the PNG. It's downloading. Then what I'm going to go ahead and do is let's go back to my image ads. And let's say I wanted to add this to my image ads. You can just drag this from wherever it is and you can place it on here as it uploads. Okay, so I'll put this on this image. As you can see, there's no background to this, so I can place this anywhere that I like in the ad. So I'm going to move this gentleman more over to the right. I can't do that, so I'll just leave this right here. Okay, and then if I wanted to take this, I'm going to copy that. I'll bring it over here. I'll paste it. and I want this guy looking at my guide. Okay, so we'll have it right there. Again, I'm just messing around with this just to show you guys the elements that you guys can actually use. Okay, then I'll place it right here. I want this gentleman to look at my guide as well. So let's place him in a way where he's looking at our guide. Boom. Oops, I moved the image there. Let's move this, and voila. So you can see now, and if I just create this by itself, let's say I remove this background image and I just create the ad and I just change the color to like, let's say red. Notice how like premium this looks now, because now it looks like a book. It looks like, hey, it's something tangible that people can get access to. And this will allow you to actually do that. So the site that you can use is the DIY book design, and you guys can use these elements inside of your image ads to actually make your image ads pop a little bit more, and it allows you to actually have more oomph and have more substance to your image ads. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was the step-by-step process on how to create an image ad. One thing I do want to remind you is that during the weekly coaching calls, you will have the chance to get your ads reviewed by the team to make sure that they are compliant, make sure that we can give you our feedback because we've created hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of image ads that have done extremely well. So we can give you our 2 cents on how your image ad is, what we would tweak, what we'd add to it. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the step-by-step on how to create an image ad. Now let's head back over to the main training.
All right, welcome back from that tactical side training on the step-by-step of creating an image ad. Again, remember, there is nothing mystical, there's nothing special, there is nothing like magical about our process. It is just the process that we are showing you that has worked for us. But guess what? As you do more and more reps, you're gonna have your own process, okay? You might find your own softwares that work for you. You might find your own tools that work for you. You're gonna put your own creative flair to it, and that is all okay. We are just showing you what works for us and our process, and of course, as we share, you're going to be able to get better and better and better from there. Okay, so that is the step-by-step. Now, the next thing that we want to go ahead and do as we start to close out this section is answering the question, how do I know if my image ad is actually good? Okay, now we talked about this when we talked about copywriting, and it's the exact same answer over here as well, is that in marketing, when we talk about if something is actually good or not, it's not subjective, right? Especially when we talk about direct response, it's all number-based and it's all data-based, right? It's all very quantitative, okay? So it's not like, you know what, I feel like this ad creative, this image ad is really good. The only way you're gonna know is based off of the data and if it's actually converting or not, okay? And how do we know if it's converting or not? You're never gonna know until you actually look at the data. Now, what data specifically? That is going to be the data that is located inside of your tracking sheet dashboard. This is what we call the business intelligence sheet. We've gone ahead and created this Google sheet, right? This is a Google sheet template that we've literally invested hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours over many, many years. And we've even hired developers to go ahead and add to the formulas that are inside of this spreadsheet that you are going to get access to. And then you're going to be able to go ahead and add in your marketing data on a daily basis. And then you're going to be able to see what the average of your metrics looks like. And then that is what's going to allow you to see if your image ad is actually converting. Okay, so we're going to show you in an upcoming training how to be able to find the numbers, right, on platforms like Facebook or YouTube, right, as well as how to find those numbers in your CRM, because it is a combination. Some of the numbers are going to come from the platform, the ad platform, and then some of the numbers are going to come from your CRM, which is going to be the client kit, okay? And when you have that, that is what's going to allow you to be able to make more informed decisions as to whether or not your ad creative is converting or not. And primarily, this is not going to mean anything for you right now, but primarily the KPI that you're going to look at when the time comes is you're going to be looking at your click-through all rate, or also known as your CTR all. Now, again, I know this doesn't mean anything to you right now. Right now, you're like, okay, well, what does that mean? How do I calculate that? Where do I put that information in? You're going to learn more about that. Okay, we're going to talk much more about that. But again, you just want to know right now, when you are optimizing to know if your image ad is actually good, it comes down to a KPI. It comes down to a metric. It is not based off of your subjective, like, oh, you know, I think it's going to work or not. You're just looking at them. You're sending it out in the market, right? You're going ahead and putting some ad spend behind it. And then via the numbers, the market is going to let you know if the actual image ad is good or not based off of the KPI. So I hope that makes sense. Of course, you can always get feedback from other people, right? You can always get feedback from people who've created ad creative in the past. They might be able to go ahead and give you some information, but ultimately the end all be all is whether or not the ad creative actually performs, and the numbers are what tells the actual story. So even for me, like, we create some ad creative all the time. We're like, dude, this is going to crush. It looks amazing. I think it's awesome. And then we throw it out there and it doesn't work well because the numbers tell us that the market is not receiving it well. Okay. So that was the other point that we wanted to touch on when we talk about image ads. And so this, ladies and gentlemen, has been the image ads training section, in which we've talked about what image ads are. We've gone over examples of it. We talked about the step-by-step of it. Like, literally, you have a very solid foundation in understanding image ads and going out there and actually creating image ads for yourself. Now, again, if you have any questions about anything that we've discussed in this section or any of the sections at all, please make sure you go ahead and post inside of the student community. And even if you don't have questions, right? Any insights, any comments, any worries, any concerns, anything that you want to get input and build the relationship with the rest of the community, with the coaches, it is absolutely going to go ahead and pay many dividends for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the image ads training section. With that being said, I will catch you inside of the next training section. All right, welcome to the video ads overview. So in this quick section, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and outline some of the important sections that are going to be coming up next. And all of the upcoming sections are going to be about the video ad creation process. And so this specific training section is just going to go ahead and highlight the overview of what those parts are going to look like. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So as you've already learned by now, there are two major types of ads that you can run on the different types of platforms, right? There are image ads and then there are video ads. And specifically, we're talking about the Facebook ads platform. So in this training section and in some of the other training sections that are upcoming now, we're going to specifically talk about video ads. Like, what is the entire process of creating video ads? And again, this is going to be our process. We're just sharing you what it is that we do. And then of course, as you do it more and more, you're going to come up with probably a better process overall that's going to work better for you. But again, we're just sharing you the process that works for us. Okay. So what is that process going to look like? So part number one of that process is going to be all about creating the video script. After that, part number two is going to be all about filming the video, right? So it's going to be all about, okay, the lighting, the camera, all of that kind of stuff. Going to make it super simple. I promise you, it might sound a little bit overwhelming in the beginning, but again, we've already talked about that in the past, right? It's all just because you're doing something new, but it's not at all overwhelming. You will 100% be able to do it, and you will be 100% be successful with it as well, okay? And then part number three is going to be all about editing that video so that way it is production ready to be able to run on Facebook. And also down the road, if you decide to run it on YouTube as well, that can also be an option in the future. Okay, so again, because all three of these parts have different skill sets, we will be breaking them up into multiple training sections. Okay, and always what you just have to remember is that yes, a lot of this is going to be new for you, but it doesn't mean that it's difficult. Just because something is new for you doesn't mean that it's new for all of humanity, right? There are plenty of people who do this in their sleep, and you will become one of those people. Okay, so if it's difficult, it just means you haven't developed the skills, you haven't acquired the skill yet to do it. That just means you haven't put in enough reps for it. Okay, so once you actually do this process enough times, you're going to realize that, man, I could do this in my sleep. Filming and editing video ads is literally going to be as simple and as boring as driving a car or tying your shoes. Okay, so again, in the beginning, hang in there, and it will get so much easier the more reps and experience that you have with it. So again, don't worry, you're going to knock it out of the park and get really good at this, and just stick with it. And again, we are here to support you every step of the way, so don't even worry about it. All right, so this has been the quick overview when it comes to video ads. In the upcoming training section, we're going to go ahead and dive into the actual tactical step-by-step process of this. And so with that being said, I will catch you in those training sections. All All right, welcome to the first part of the video ads creation process, which is all about creating the video script. Okay, so like we've already talked about in the overview training, there are 3 parts to this entire process. There's creating the video script, there's filming the actual video, and then there's the editing of the video. So we're gonna go ahead and walk you through step by step on how to come up with the actual video script. So that way, again, you're gonna be able to create your own process over time. We're just sharing with you an example of what has been able to work for us. But again, hey, don't be a remote control student. I know we don't got to beat the dead horse and put the nail in the coffin or preach to the choir here. But again, remember, because humans need to be reminded more than they need to be taught, just remember it is going to seem new for you, but I know you are 100% going to knock it out of the park once you have enough reps with it. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the actual tactics of this. And this is going to be a step-by-step tactical tutorial on how to actually create the video ads script. And that is going to be a mini training that we're going to go ahead and cut over to right now.
All right, team, welcome to this quick mini training where we're going to walk you through the step-by-step process on how to create your video ad script. Now, this is going to be a very simple training because by creating your ad copy, you've actually done a lot of the hard work already. And this is going to be a very simplified process on how to take what you've already done with your ad copy and now turn that into a video ad script. Okay. So with that being said, let's jump in and start creating your video ad script. So step 1, the first thing you want to do is you actually want to open up your ad copy that you wrote in the previous training. Okay. Now your video ad script is going to be very similar to your ad copy with just some small tweaks. That's why we start with this first. So as you can see here on the left side of my screen, I have the ad copy pulled up here that we have wrote for the ad that we are going to run. Okay, so this is the final ad copy that we are going to be running. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to open up another ClickUp document. So what I would recommend doing is creating a new page or creating a sub page under wherever you wrote your ad copy, okay? And you're going to create another document and you're going to call it Ad Creative Script, okay? That's what you want to call it. You want to call it Ad Creative Script. Then what you're going to do is you're going to open up this document and this document side by side. So let me go ahead and actually just duplicate this up here in my tab so you guys can actually see this side by side. Okay, and the reason we want it side by side is because you will be able to pick parts from one side and add it to the other side. Okay, so on one side, I'm gonna have the ad copy open, and on the other side, you should have your ad creative script document. Now, at this point, this document should be blank. You should have nothing in here, and what you're gonna be doing is you're gonna be taking elements from the ad copy, okay, and you're going to be bringing it on over into the ad creative side of things, okay? Now, that is what step 3 is going to consist of, is writing the ad creative script. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the ad copy line by line and copy it to the new document, but format it in the form of a conversations, okay? It starts right here where we say, 4 successful men who have succeeded in their career but are struggling to dominate other areas of life, right? And so now we took this and we turned this into, fellas, if you're a man, right? Because we want to make sure that we have some sort of CTA. We want to call out the people that we're trying to attract, okay? So you can see right here, if you're a man who has succeeded in your career, right? See this element and see this element right here? But you're struggling to dominate other areas of your life. That's exactly this line right here. This is for you. Right? Notice how I added this part in here, okay? And then we eliminated this part. We didn't have this part, okay? Boom, we took this and we added it right there. Brother, here's the truth. We're not put on this planet to be mediocre, okay? Settling for a mediocre life is not what we do. It's not in our DNA. It's not how we were created, okay? So now you can see here, it's not in our DNA. It's not how we were created. This is an element that I added into this. Okay, so let's move along right here. And then in the video, we actually want to do something we call a anticipation, which is, hey, in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to share with you the real reason that's causing men to live a life of mediocrity and settle for less. Okay. And you can see this is just going to be a amalgam of what I'm writing here, but I'm adding elements to the ad creative script that is going to allow it to flow like a video. Okay. So as you're going about this, you're just taking your ad copy and transitioning it over into more of a video format. Okay. Now, as you're doing this, you're going to need to add some transitions into it and statements that make sense. Kind of like this one. Hey, in the next 30 seconds, this is what I'm going to share with you, because this they're reading, this they are watching. As you're transferring the ad copy over to the ad creative script, you actually want to be reading from the top. So if I just go back here, I'll read this entire statement. Hey, fellas, if you're a man who's succeeding in your career, but you're struggling to dominate other areas of your life, this is for you. Brother, here's the truth. Setting for a mediocre life is not in our DNA. You want to read this through from the top. Every time you add a new element, okay, you want to read this to make sure that it is actually cohesive. It's a very, very, very key distinction. I think a lot of people will just continue to transition copy over. They'll keep doing this, right? They'll keep moving this, but they won't actually make the narrative cohesive. They will not make this flow based on what they're moving on over. So as I'm moving stuff over, I'm going to edit things, I'm going to change things, I'm going to tweak things. And what that will allow it to do is it'll allow it to go and flow with the entire point that I'm trying to get across. What we also recommend is you also want to actually separate these sentences out individually. And the reason we do that is because this will allow you to record very easily when it comes to actually recording your video. And so then once you've actually gone through this entire thing, so obviously I've already written this, and this is stuff that we've already gone through. And so in here, right, you can see that I'm introducing myself and who I am. So that's not a part of the script, but I'm adding it in there that, hey, my name is Coach Malik. I'm the co-founder of the Pinnacle Man Project, and this is what we've done. Okay, but you can see here, right, after helping, we brought that element, but we added this part to this. So I'm saying this as a reminder because I think a lot of us will tend to get lazy and will tend to just take whatever's in the ad copy and bring it over without making any adjustments. Because this is going to be a video, this is written word. You want to take the written word and you actually want to transform it into a video format. Now, moving on to step number 4, we're going to go ahead and once you've actually done that, once you've taken the ad copy, once you've actually added the transitions to this entire process, once you've actually read it through to make sure that it makes sense, once you've actually separated the entire sentences out, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to reread the ad creative script. So you're going to come over here and you're going to read the entire thing to make sure that it flows. Read it a couple of times if you have to make sure that the entire ad script flows and the content is comprehensible. And another practice that I like to do is you want to read it back to yourselves as if you were recording this, okay? As if the camera was on and you're recording this, and this will allow you to practice and make the necessary tweaks if you feel the statements do not flow, or you'll recognize the different tonality that you would like to use in the video itself. Now, just like the copy, the goal is to hook the watcher to watch more. So that's step number 4. Once you've actually written everything out, go through it, read it through, make sure it makes sense, make sure it is cohesive, make sure it is comprehensive, and make sure it gets the point across that you are trying to get across. So now moving on to step number 5, which is going to be timing the script itself. Once you've actually finalized your ad creative script, then what you're going to do is you're going to time yourself reading through the script. Okay, so what you're going to do is on your phone, you open up a stopwatch and you read the script as if you were recording it. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through the entire process, read this through, right? And we want to make sure that we keep the video less than 3 minutes if possible. Okay, 3 minutes and 15 seconds max. And if it's too long, then what you want to do is you want to actually go back into the ad creative script and you want to trim out some of the fluff, some of the fat, some of the unnecessary parts that are not needed that can be removed from this instance. So if I was to go through this and say, hey, you're wondering what's the catch, so click the link below, like this part right here. This is for those who are serious we don't really need this entire section, right? So what I would do is I'm just going to strike this out because I know that I'm not going to be reading that through. And what that will do, and then read it again to make sure that this entire section fits into the less than 3 minutes and 15 seconds. So that is the entire step-by-step breakdown on how to create a video ad script. Now, best practices as we're doing this, one thing that I would do want to remind you guys of this is that you want to let the viewer know of what to expect during the video. Hey, in the next 30 seconds, and the reason we say this is because what this will allow the viewer to do is they go, okay, this ad is only 30 seconds long. I have 30 seconds to spare. Now, the ad is 3 minutes, but in the next 30 seconds, you'll learn this, okay? And that's what you're doing to hook the viewer in, okay? And then you keep going, you keep going, you keep going. Another thing is you want to introduce yourself, who you are, and why people should actually listen to you. Okay, we do that towards the middle because we want to agitate the problem that people are facing at the beginning. Because if you make the video about you, no one's going to watch it. Okay, but if you see here, hey, in the next 30 seconds, this is what you learn, and this is what we actually start with. So guess what happens? People are actually more enticed to actually watch the video through. Okay, then we agitate the problem. Then we actually go into the elements of it. We have elements of a testimonial. If you wanted to add that in there, you absolutely can. And then from there, we actually, one thing that I like to add when creating a video ad script is, why are you doing this for free? Why are you sharing what it is that you are sharing with the world? Because that is the $1 million question that a lot of people ask. That's the elephant in the room. Why is this person doing this? So we find that it works really well to actually explain that in your ad creative script. So make sure you have those elements in there. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was the step-by-step creating the video ad script process. I hope that your video ad script turns out amazing, and we look forward to reviewing it on the coaching calls and inside of the community. If you have any questions, without further ado, let's get back to the main training.
All right, welcome back from that tactical tutorial on an example process that we use ourselves when actually creating the video ad script, which is the first part of this entire process. But again, you're going to hear us do this over and over and over again because humans need to be reminded more than they need to be taught. Is that, remember, this is just an example of what the process may actually look like. But again, we ourselves are making changes to this process all the time. Okay, so even this exact training may not be how we do it now because we're always just improving the process and making it better and better and better. And so remember, the point of this training was to go ahead and give you an initial foundation. But again, it's not to memorize this exact process or to think that this exact process is some holy, mystical, magical process. It's just a matter of helping you learn how to think around this. Okay. So again, we want students to be able to cultivate that winner's mindset. And so winners learn how to be able to think so that way they can problem solve and be resourceful. Again, so winners do the dang work. And so we would absolutely recommend that when you do the dang work and you cultivate that winner's mindset, you are absolutely going to crush it. So again, remember, these are just prompts, guides, and examples, not to be taken literally. And so with those warnings and with those cautions out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, this has been this specific training section about the video ads, creating the video script section. Now, if you have any questions about this, any comments, any concerns, any worries, any wins, hey, even if you come up with your video script and you're like, dude, I totally crushed this. This was so amazing. I'm so happy I did it the way that I did it. Then make sure you go ahead and share that in the student community. You can go ahead and drop a post in there. We love to be able to make sure that we get that engagement and cultivate that community over there. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and continue this process, and I will catch you in the next training section. All right, welcome to step number 2 of the video ads process, which is the actual filming of the actual video ad. So again, we've gone ahead and broken this down into multiple parts. So the first part was all about creating the video script. This part is all about actually filming the video ad. So again, we're going to walk you through our process of this, but this is not the end all be all. You are going to go ahead and create your own process over time. Now, before we actually get into the tactics of this, this is actually the part in the process, right? Part number 2, where it comes to filming the actual video ad. We know because we used to do this when we were beginners all the the time, is this is where it's very, very likely that a lot of beginners who are going to go ahead and start this process for the first time are going to feel emotions and limiting beliefs coming to the surface, okay? It's going to be very easy if you're a beginner or a newbie doing this process to overthink it and major in the minors. And this is the reason why I want to go ahead and take a second right now and do a reminder for you in that, hey, you want to cultivate that winner's mindset when it comes to doing something that you are uncomfortable doing, okay? Which is that, hey, I have to take action regardless of the feelings that I am feeling, right? And again, we're talking about those superficial feelings, right? The superficial feelings are like, hey, I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm anxious, I'm doubtful, right? All of those are superficial feelings. But once you've actually cultivated that winner's mindset, later on down the road, there are deeper emotions like, hey, what my gut is telling me, whether I'm fulfilled doing this kind of stuff. But winners don't pay attention to those superficial things in the beginning because that's all just mental noise. But if you give in to all of that mental mess, then that is when you are crossing this line and becoming a limbic lallu and who is going completely limbic around this, okay? And again, I want to remind you of this. The reason why this is important to understand is because it's completely normal that when you are doing something that you haven't done before, your brain is 100% going to give you those negative thoughts and that doubt and that anxiety and that uncertainty because your brain was designed to help you survive, not to thrive, because your brain was designed and programmed to help you survive in the wilderness. But guess what? It wasn't designed to help you make video ads because of the fact that that is a goal that you have so that way you can actually progress in life, okay? And so your brain is 100% going to give you those negative thoughts. And so what's going to happen is that it's going to be very easy for you to be able to ride that roller coaster of thoughts and emotions and get lost in all of those loopings and all of those thoughts and kind of take it around and around and around, versus what you want to do is you want to cultivate that identity and that consciousness of using your prefrontal cortex to observe your thoughts and emotions. Say, wow, hey, isn't it interesting that, look at that, I knew that was going to happen. And a lot of times you can even talk to your limbic self. Sometimes like, man, limbic Yasin, just as expected, there is that thought, there is that negative emotion, there is that feeling of uncertainty and that fear. Hey, thank you so much for wanting to take care of me, limbic Yasin. But guess what? We're going to go out there and thrive. We're going to go out there and win. We're going to go out there and achieve the things that we want. We're going to make a better life for ourselves. And so don't worry, limbic Yasin. This is not going to kill us. This is actually going to help us. And you're going to be happy that we did this. See, you can talk to yourself, right? And so this is what I'm talking about when it comes to filming video ads. For some of you, not for all of you, but for some of you, this is going to be an uncomfortable experience. And you want to embrace that. You want to cultivate that winner's mindset. You want to be a winner, an A player who says, you know what? That discomfort, that feeling of me doing something that I have not done before, it's like an addiction for you. Because you say, you know what? I know that this is going to help me in the long term. And I am so happy that I am doing this right now. And so at the end of the day, you want to remember that you will do what is required for success. Period, right? Now, obviously, I'm not talking about here, some people will take this out of context and say, oh, so that means you're going to do unethical behavior? No, that's silly, okay? I'm not talking about that right now. I am talking about the fact that there are requirements of what you must do, not unethical stuff. There are ethical things that you must do that you are uncomfortable doing, right? So you must train yourself to say, you know what? I will do what is required, period. I said I was going to do it, and therefore I did it, right? You hold your commitments to yourself and the commitments that you make to others, regardless of how you superficially feel about it. Because the thing is that the better you get at that thing, right, aka filming video ads, those emotions are going to disappear because your limbic mind is going to realize, hey, this is not that bad. This is not going to kill us. And so as a result, you start to get more and more comfortable with it. And then that new thing becomes your status quo. And now your limbic mind, right, your actual rest of your brain says, you know what? This is something that didn't kill us. So now we're okay to be safe over here. And then you got to push again to get to that next level again. Okay. So again, remember, winners and losers feel no different. They feel the same emotions, right? Winners who actually achieve things in life feel the exact same emotions that you feel. They feel the fear, they feel the anxiety, they feel the uncertainty, they feel the doubt. But the thing is that they just don't let it stop them. They keep on pushing through because they realize that that is just their mind that is trying to hold them back. And so the question for you is that, are you willing to be uncomfortable as you film these video ads? Are you willing to put up with those thoughts and those feelings, right? Are you willing to put up with that doubt and that pain when you're trying something new? Because if you are, that is when you are putting that vote to being the version of yourself that is a winner, that has the A player mentality, that has the resilience and the grit that is necessary in order to do what is required for success. And so again, the reason why we're putting this entire warning from the get-go is because guess what? Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to get into the step-by-step tactical of actually filming the video ads. And yes, it is going to be uncomfortable for many of you, but guess what? The more you push through with it, the better you're going to get at it, okay? And so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and cut over to a tactical mini training that's going to walk you through the step-by-step of actually filming video ads. So let's go ahead and cut over to that now.
All right, everyone, welcome to this mini training where we're going to walk you through the step-by-step process on how to film video ads. Okay, so let's jump right on in. Now, when we are filming video ads, there's actually two parts to filming video ads. Okay, so part one is actually creating the ad script, which we did inside of ClickUp, right? So you should have your ad creative script ready to go. Okay, and part two is going to be all about recording the video ad. Okay, so in this part, we're going to dive into 3 sections, which will explain the process in a little bit more detail. Okay, first, we're going to talk about the tools that are needed to record a video ad. Then, we're going to make sure that you understand the setup for recording a video ad and how to set that up properly and make sure that you're set up for success, regarding the equipment and everything that goes into that and how to set up your equipment. And then finally, we're going to get into recording your video ad itself. And we're going to use something called the one-line method that we're going to actually teach you in this mini training. Okay. So before we jump into this, I want to give you guys a quick pro tip when it comes to ads, okay? So when you're recording your video ad, people actually make judgments based on what they see, okay? We are visual creatures, and we will make decisions and perceptions based on what we actually see. So if you dress like a professional, okay, and you're showing up and you're well-dressed and you're groomed and you record the ad, then what the viewer is going to see is they're going to see a professional individual, okay? Now, the attire for an ad we recommend is something professional. It doesn't have to be a 3-piece suit, okay? Just anything that allows people to see that you're a professional, okay? Now imagine if you saw someone who was not well groomed, what would you think, right? If you saw an ad by somebody who looked disheveled, they weren't organized, their shirt was wrinkled, and they just look odd, right? Obviously, you'd have a different perception of that individual. That individual cannot grant authority, right? And so it's like making your first impression to your audience, and this will make a big difference to the type of people that you attract to your ad as well. Okay, I don't think people understand this a lot, is that they'll show up and just record the ad, and I made this same mistake many times, but as soon as we started addressing the attire in the ad, it actually started affecting the viewers and the interactors of the ad as well. So that's just a pro tip on the best practices for attire when it comes to ads. Now, let's jump into part 2, which is recording the video ad. Okay, and like I said earlier, it's going to be broken up into 3 sections. Section 1 is going to be around the tools that you need to record. Section number 2 is going to be all around the setup. And then section number 3 is actually going to be going into recording your video ad. So the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to go into the tools to record. Now, there's going to be a few tools that you can utilize. Number 1, it's going to be your camera. Number 2, it's going to be your tripod, your external mic, and your lighting. So technically, there's only 3 tools that you're actually using. One is your camera, because obviously that's what you're going to be recording on. So first thing is first, you can just use your smartphone. If you have a DSLR or a professional camera, you can do that. You can use that as well, but it's not necessary. We've created all of our ads, every one of our ads, using an iPhone camera. For the longest time, we used the iPhone 7 Plus, and now recently having the iPhone 11, that's what we've been using. And we use the back side of the camera rather than the front side because of the quality. So that's just pro tips on the camera. If you want to get a DSLR and you want to go that whole route, you can. We don't recommend it. Just use your smartphone and you should be good to go. Now, a tool that will accompany your camera and make it easier for you to record will be a tripod, okay? And this will allow you to hold your phone and make it easier to record. You can set up your phone, you can have it in an area where it can actually record very easily while you're actually just focusing on reading the script, okay? Now, we have an example tripod that we've labeled out for you guys right here that you guys can actually check out. It's on Amazon. If you have one, great. If you do not, you can check one out right there. Now, another tool that it's going to be very useful for you is going to be your external mic, okay? One thing we've realized is sound quality is more important than video quality. And so as long as you have really good sound quality, people are going to be attracted and listening to the video. So having a good mic will help with that. Now, here's an example of a mic. It's a very simple, easy lapel mic that you can find. You can click the link and check that out. Or if you have like a podcast mic that you've been using, you can use that as well. We just recommend not having the mic be visual. So if you're using a podcast mic, you want to make sure that try not to have the mic in the shot or in the camera. You can have it off the camera and it's actually recording your sound, okay? And then lastly, the lighting, okay? You want to make sure that you're actually recording in a room that is well lit. Okay, now if you do not have that, or if your room is structured in a way where it's not very well lit, then you can actually end up either getting panel lights, which we've labeled out right here, or you can get a tripod with a ring light, and that will help as well. And we've actually placed that right here for you. Okay, so obviously you're going to be using the camera. That is going to be your main source of recording, but there's going to be 3 tools that go along with that. 1 being the tripod, 2 being the external mic, and 3 being the lighting. And this will allow you to record a video that is really, really, really good. Okay. So that was section 1 where we went over the tools to record. Now let's talk a little bit about the recording setup. Okay. So setup number 1, it's going to be the camera setup. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to use your tripod and you're going to set up your camera, and that will allow you to keep the camera stable. So you're not holding it in a selfie style and you're not holding it up. It's not looking all weird, and you can actually get the shot correctly. So set your camera up on the tripod and move it around and place it where you want to actually record properly. You can place it on the desk, you can place it on the ground, you can just place it wherever you want to so you can actually get a really good shot, okay? Then, as you're recording, you want to make sure wherever you're sitting, it's centered in the camera, okay? So if you have your camera set up, you want to make sure if this is your camera and you are sitting right here, you want to make sure that you're actually centered with your camera, okay? So you want to sit right here in the middle so that you can actually be seen right in the middle, okay? Then we're going to go into your mic setup, okay? Now, this should be very straightforward. The mic can go directly into your phone. If you get the Bluetooth one, then it'll connect very easily using Bluetooth, and it'll make it very easy for you to record. Now, we recommend testing the sound quality to make sure that the sound is being recorded from your lapel mic, right? And it's not being recorded from your phone microphone, because sometimes it'll tend to do that. So do a few tests, record a few takes, and it will allow you to see if, hey, is the sound quality where I need it to be? Okay, so that was step number 2, which was the mic setup. Now let's go into step number 3. And step number 3 is going to be all about the lighting setup. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to place a key light 45 degrees from where you're sitting. Okay, so if this is you right here, okay, and this is your camera, then you want to place the light 45 degrees from where you're at, okay? What that is that will light your face up very, very, very well. And then if one side of your face is really dark, you can get another light and place it right here at another 45-degree angle, and that will lighten you up properly. Now, if you don't want to use a panel light or anything of that sort, and if you're just like, hey, I'm going to record with natural light, then you want to make sure that your light source is behind the camera. Okay, what I see a lot of people do is that they will sit and their light source is behind them, and then they have their camera in front of them, and then their video comes out very dark because they don't know, or they have a silhouette in the back. It's because your camera needs light to record, okay? So that's why having the light source in the back, so if you have a window here, okay, place your camera in front of the window and then you record right here. Now, if you're wearing glasses or anything of that sort, You might want to move this lower. You might want to mess around with this so you don't get the glare. But a lot of this, guys, a lot of the lighting stuff is going to be experimental to make sure that you get the lighting right. And this is a big reminder that you were a winner, right? You were resourceful. You were somebody that can go out there and make this happen. So this is not something that we learned, or we were in cinematography, or we went to school for this, right? This is something that we learned simply right off of YouTube. And so you can go there. There's tons of tutorials for lighting, how to light up your videos very well, how to light up your videos properly. So you can go ahead and check those out as more resources so that you can set up the proper lighting for your video recording and for your shot, okay? Now, let's move on to section 3, which is going to be the most important section, which is about actually recording your ad, okay? Now, before I go into the steps, I really want to go over the best practices for recording, okay? One thing I do want to let you know is do not worry about memorizing the script. We're going to use something called the one-line method, okay? And this is where you're just going to press record on your device, whether you're using a DSLR, whether you're using your smartphone, whatever it may be. And then you're just going to focus on reading one sentence at a time, okay? You're going to focus on reading one sentence at a time. And you want to let the device record the entire time, because when you are going to edit, we can fix the pauses, we can fix the mess ups, we can fix everything in what we call post-production, which is after you have recorded the ad, okay? So let the device run, so let it record consistently, and you can look back and forth. Again, let the camera run as you're reading through the script, and we'll show you how to cut out all the bloopers during the editing, okay? So the steps to actually recording your video are very, very, very simple, okay? Number 1, start recording on the device that you're using to record. Really simple. Step number 2 is going to be about reading one line at a time, okay? What do I mean? So if this is, you have your script pulled up on your computer, okay? So for instance, if you have your script pulled up here, okay, and your camera is here, and you're sitting right here, okay, this is you. Let's draw this out right here. That way we can make sure that we can check this out. So if this is your camera and this is your script, what you want to do is, as you're recording this, you want to read, right? You want to look at a few sentences, and then you want to look at the camera, and then you want to just read those 2 lines, okay? So for instance, I would start with these 2 lines right here. So the first thing that I would do is I would look at my screen, and I would actually read this out to myself and just kind of memorize the line. I'm not trying to memorize it. What I'm trying to just do is read the line over so it sticks in my head. Okay, you've already wrote this, so you kind of have some remnants of this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn from here, and I'm going to look at the camera, and I'm going to record. Right? I'm going to actually say the line looking at the camera. So I look at the screen to, okay, what is the line that I'm going to record? Okay, let's say I record these 3 lines. Then I'm going to look at the camera and try to say these 3 lines. Okay, now what'll happen is, let's say in the middle of the line, you might mess up. That's okay. That's the whole process. Start all over again. Just start from the top and read the line again, okay? And so if you mess up, it is okay. Read the line again. And so if I was to do this, I would first start with this sentence, okay? Fellas, if you're a man who has succeeded in your career, but you're struggling to dominate other areas of your life, this is for you, because that's a complete thought. So I would look at the screen, I would read that a few times, then I would turn to the camera, and then I would go, cool. I would act it out in front of the camera, because obviously in front of the camera, I have to be a little bit more dynamic. And what you're going to do is you're going to go through the entire process, and you're going to read the entire script. Take it one sentence at a time. All you got to do is take this sentence here, okay, read it a few times, then turn towards the camera and actually read it in front of the camera, okay? Use your hand gestures, use your motions, use body language as you're speaking, and it will get the point across. And so what also helps as you're reading one line at a time, if you actually want to print out your script, okay, you can print out your script as well and have this in front of you, so that way you can, or have this on the floor, and that way you can always look at it, read a few sentences, and read it back over to the camera. So what you're doing is you're technically, in a way, recording mini videos. This is a mini video, this is a mini video, this is a mini video. Each sentence is kind of like a mini video, but you're not stopping record. You're letting it record even the mess ups. And even if you're looking away, that's okay, because we're going to be able to edit that in what we call post, which is editing. Okay. Now, once you're done recording, okay, go ahead, end the recording. And then if you record it on your phone, you're going to need to export it to edit it onto your computer, meaning you have to take it from your phone and you have to get it onto your computer so that way you can actually utilize it. Now, if you've recorded everything and you've absolutely crushed it, I just want to give you a huge congratulations, because you just completed the toughest part of the process. Okay. Once you record the ad, the editing is a piece of cake. And if this is your first time recording an ad, I just want to say, way to stick through this process and way to actually learn this new skill, because this one skill will actually allow you to consistently get clients, consistently grow your business, and consistently allow you to get to that next level. So I'm extremely proud of you. Now, I hope you found this mini training useful. If you have any questions as you're going through the process, utilize the student community and reach out to us so we can actually provide you with support through this process. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was the step-by-step process on filming your video ads. Again, if you need support throughout this process, please let us know. Now, we look forward to seeing your video ad inside of the community and giving you feedback on this and making sure that it is compliant with Facebook ad policies. Now, with that being said, let's get back to the main training.
All right, welcome back from that tactical mini training about the step-by-step of actually filming video ads. Again, do not forget, humans need to be reminded more than they need to be taught. The reason why we went ahead and went over that entire warning and that mindset mini piece ahead of time was because, yes, this is going to be something that is new and probably uncomfortable for you in the beginning, but just always remember, always remind yourself of the foundational things that we talked about. And if you really struggle with this, put this in your becoming journal. Go ahead and create the identity of yourself that is able to do this effortlessly, that actually craves, not only is able to do it effortlessly, do the opposite of it. It actually craves creating video content and being in front of the camera, right? You can create that identity and then step into that identity and get pulled from the future and be excited about the future of becoming that version of yourself, rather than having to push yourself out of scarcity and fear, rather than doing that, right? So that is another tactic that you could do inside of the becoming process, okay? Now, real quick, a question I want to go ahead and answer right now is that when you are filming your video ad, it's very easy for you to say, you know what? Hey, I'm not sure, this is going to be good, this is going to be bad. Of course, you can get input from other people, but at the end of the day, what you want to remember is that this is a data-driven numbers process. Whether your video ad is actually going to be good or not is determined whether or not it is going to be converting based off of the objective that you want it to convert to. And you are only going to know that with the data. What data specifically? It's all going to be about the data that is going to be inside of the tracking dashboard, right? The business intelligence sheet that we're going to walk you through, right? This is going to be a template that you are provided so you can go ahead and understand what the data actually looks like, okay? And we're going to show you how to be able to get that data step by step from the ad platforms as well as from the client kit, so you can put all of that together inside of the sheet, and then that way you can make educated, data-driven decisions based off of whether or not your image ad and your video ad and your ads in general are actually converting or not, okay? Now, I know this metric is not going to mean anything to you right now, but specifically when we are talking about video ads, we are going to be looking at the CTR all rate, okay? That is going to be the metric and the KPI that we look at. But again, remember, we're going to show you what exactly that is, how it is calculated once we get to that part, okay? So that, ladies and gentlemen, has been this specific training section about the filming of the video ad. So make sure you go out there and get that done. And again, if you have any questions about this, if you have any questions about resources, if you have any other questions about this, make sure you go ahead and post this in the student community and ask the rest of the community, and also share your process. Hey, if you are nervous about this, share that in the student community. If you are fearful about this, share that in the student community. If you were fearful and then you had an overcoming win in which you were able to go ahead and overcome something internally, share that in the student community. Remember, the more you share about your journey throughout this process, wins, failures, the journey that's going on, you're going to cultivate that community, and you're going to be able to make this a multiplayer experience in which the entire game becomes so much more fun because you're playing it with the rest of the community. But it's not going to happen if you don't invest in those relationships by posting in the student community. So hope that makes sense. Go out there and get rocking and rolling, and I will catch you inside of the next training section. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the third part of the video ad creation process, which is all about editing. Okay, so like we've already talked about, there are three parts to this process: creating the video script, filming, and then now part number 3 is all about editing. Okay, so obviously at this point, you've gone ahead and actually filmed your video ad. Right now you have kind of like rough cuts, right? Maybe there's a bunch of parts where you're messing up, all of that kind of stuff. So in this training section, we're gonna go ahead and walk you through our procedure on the editing process. And again, remember, the more times you do it, you are gonna be able to go ahead and develop your own process to this as well. Again, just as always, remember, this is a skill just like everything else, and this is going to be something that over time you will be able to do in your sleep. So don't worry, you are going to knock it out of the park. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and do a quick tech tutorial on a software called Descript, okay, or Descript. Sometimes they call it in different ways, but this software, Descript, is the software that we actually use for editing. Okay, it's very easy to use, and so we're going to go ahead and walk you through a quick tech tutorial on that, so that way you have an idea of what it looks like. Now, again, remember, this is just the tools that we use, right? There are many other tools out there. We are terrible at video editing. We are not good at this at all. And if we have been able to do it, you will be able to do it. But there are also people out there who are absolutely phenomenal at this entire process, right? You might be one of them. There are students who are inside of our community who use like Final Cut Pro and like movie editors and all this kind of stuff. We are just really, really, really bad at this stuff, okay? And if we've been able to do it, you will be able to do it. But if you're not so good at it, then guess what? You can just piggyback off of our process and then learn from other people as you go along. For right now, we're going to go ahead and talk to you about Descript and some of the advantages and the pros of why we like this software specifically over other more complicated movie editing softwares. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and cut over to that quick mini training right now.
All right, team, welcome to this mini training, which is going to be a tech tutorial on Descript. Now, in order to edit the videos, you have tons of softwares that are out there, but the one that we recommend using, and the reason we recommend using this is because it is the easiest software to use for video editing and audio editing, is called Descript, okay? Now, before we get into the next section, you want to make sure that you have Descript downloaded and you have it ready to go. And then we're going to jump into helping you understand how it actually works. Okay. So step 1, you want to go ahead and download Descript. You can select this link and it will take you to a page like this. And what you could go ahead and do is you could go ahead and scroll down and you'll be able to download your free desktop app. Now, you can use Descript on the web, but it will not allow you to edit the video. So you're going to need to download it either for Mac if you have a Mac, or a Windows if you have Windows. So go ahead and download the Descript app on your computer. The next thing you're going to do is you're actually going to go ahead and create an account. You can go ahead and create a free account. We do recommend paying for the premium version. We believe it is $15 per month. You don't have to, but it will allow you to have more benefits of editing. So really quickly, take a few seconds, go ahead, follow step 1 and step 2, pause this video really quickly and download Descript and go ahead and create your account. And then we're going to come back and we're going to go into the tech tutorial of how to utilize Descript. Now, if you want an additional tech tutorial, you'll be able to find it right here. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and finish step 1 and step 2, and we'll be right back. All right, team, welcome back to the tech tutorial. So by now you should have downloaded Descript. You should have created your Descript account. And now we're going to get into the tech tutorial of how to utilize Descript. Okay, now again, if you want an additional tutorial on how to utilize Descript, a thorough overview as well, you can always have access to it. You can find it right there. But with that being said, let's jump right on in. So when it comes to the view of Descript, so this is what Descript actually looks like right here. So this is what your app will look like. Now, I have the dark mode on, so it's just easier on the eyes. So if you want to set that up, you absolutely can. Now, there's 2 views in your drive view, okay? You're going to have the sidebar, which is right here, okay? And then you're going to have here what is called your main content. Okay, so let's go over the sidebar very, very, very quickly. Now, what the sidebar allows you to do, it allows you to switch between multiple drives. So you can see right here, I can switch between multiple drives. I can create a new drive. Now, every time you create a new drive, you will have to pay $15 a month because it is as if you have a new user license. That's kind of how they treat it. So You don't need an extra drive. You can keep it really simple and you can just go about it that way. Okay. And so here you can add members into your drive. All you got to do is input their email. You can add them as a basic, or you can add them as an editor. If you want people to be editors, you will be charged $30 for adding one seat. So they let you know of that very easily. Okay. Now, there are different views and areas inside of your drive. So let's actually go over them. So really quickly, there's a few different views. So there's recent projects, there's quick recordings, there's shared with me, then there's downloaded. Okay. Then it's going to give you voices, templates, private workspaces, and it's going to give you the RWA. It's going to give you the drive workspace right here. Okay. So let's dive into each one of these and what each one of these are. So recent projects this is going to be where you'll be able to view and find your projects based on what you're currently viewed and what you currently are working on. So as you can see here, I viewed the PMP health ad, and that is why it's the first thing that is on the list, because this is originated by viewed. Okay. Then we go into quick recordings. This is everything that you have recorded very, very quickly or recently, or if you recorded it directly into Descript, as I'm doing right now, as I'm recording this tech tutorial for you. It's being directly recorded inside of Descript. It will actually show up right here. Okay. Then shared with me is everything that you have been given access to. So let's say somebody else has a Descript account and they've kind of shared it with you. And so you'll be able to find all of that in there. Okay. Then you have downloaded. This is everything that has been downloaded in your Descript cloud drive. Okay. This is everything that you have access to that you can actually download right away. Then you have voices. Okay. So whenever you guys actually will do a transcription, or whenever you add a speaker, which will be you at the beginning, then you can actually create the name of that speaker. And as you upload more videos, it will actually train the voice of that speaker. So over time, you can actually do something really cool with Descript, where you can actually type a text and it will, using AI, will have the text being read in your voice, which is really, really, really cool. It is a little bit more advanced. So if you want to look into that, you absolutely can. Then there's templates. So if you create any type of templates, you will be able to find them right here. Then we go into private workspaces. Now, private workspaces are for projects that you're the only one that have access to. Okay. Like this, nobody else has access to it except for you. And if you want to give people access, you can. And then you have your entire drive that has everything inside of that drive. Okay. So those are the different views inside of the sidebar. Now you can come over here and switch between the drives as well very easily. If you want to be able to switch from here, then go into the RWA team drive, you can do so as well. Okay. Now going down into the main content. So whenever you click on a view, it will take you into the main content, and then you'll be able to find whatever it is that you're working on. And this is the area that you'll be able to see all of your projects. Okay. Now, really quickly, right at the top, as you can see, there is a search bar in Descript that you can actually search anything that you are looking for in terms of your project. Okay. So if I'm here and I am looking for the PMP ad, I can type in PMP ad, and it will pull up all the results that I need as well. So once you have a lot of videos or a lot of projects inside of Descript, the search feature really does come in handy. Okay. So that is the search feature. Then when we are creating a new video project, it will give you two options that you can go with. Okay. One option is you can actually create a new classic project, or you can create a new project. So let me actually show you what each of these looks like. Okay, so a new project will look something like this. Okay, it's a little bit more up to date. It's got a lot more features. Now, if we go back over here and we do a classic project, this is what a classic project looks like. I have a hunch that they're still keeping the classic project in there because a lot of people are still used to editing in the classic project. But we primarily, for your purposes to make ads, I recommend using the new project because the features, there are more features that are available in the new project that are not in the classic project. Okay. So that is creating a new video project. Now, compositions and naming your project is the next one. So let me go ahead and go into the new project that we just created recently. And so this is the area that a lot of people get confused because there's a difference between naming a project and naming a composition. Okay. Now, what is the difference? A project is kind of like the folder, right? And inside of that folder, it has multiple compositions. So what a lot of people will do is they'll name their project, but they're actually naming a composition. So when you create a new project, when you give it a title, you will name the project in itself. So I'm going to call this PMP ad test. Okay. And that is the name of the project. Then you're going to come over here and then you can create right here, which says new composition. And then you could create a new composition and we'll call this edit number 1. Okay. Now you'll see that it turned the project into a composition as well. So it has the main name and then it has a project as well. So if you wanted to delete this, you could. It doesn't really matter, but I like to have multiple compositions, and you'll see why in the editing section when we edit the ads of why that is actually important. So the way this works is if you were using ClickUp, right? ClickUp has your main page and then it has sub pages underneath it, right? So that's kind of what this is, very similar, where the project is the page and the composition is your sub pages. Okay. So now the next thing I want to show you is what a project layout actually looks like. So I actually have a video that I've imported right here that I can actually show you guys very easily. And let's go ahead and import this and we are good to go. So what you can see here is I've got the video, I imported it. So the best way to actually do this, let me actually show you. I'll create a new composition and we'll go ahead and open up the downloads folder and we'll actually drag a video into here. And as you can see, it will start creating a transcription of that. And then right here where it says speaker name, you can add the speaker that is speaking, then you hit done. And then this will transcribe and it'll upload here. Now I've already done this. So that is what edit number 1 is. It's already the video imported into here. Okay. Now in the project layout, there's a few different settings that I'm going to walk you through. Okay. One setting is called the script panel. So this right here, as you can see, this line barrier between these two. Okay. This is the script panel. This right here is the canvas. And this right here is the properties panel. Okay. And I'll walk you through what each of them are and what each of those are responsible for. Okay. Now the script panel, this is where you're going to be dragging the video into, and this is where you're going to be able to see the transcript of the video. Okay. And so as you can see here, when I dragged the video into here, it created a transcription of the video. Now, one thing I do want to let you guys know is you can actually edit the video right here. So when you go into the editing the video section, you'll see that a lot of the edits happen right here inside of the transcript. So you can see this sentence, we've actually said this twice. So I'm going to take this entire section and I can just go ahead and delete it. And what that'll do, it'll actually delete it from the video right here. And so that is what the script panel is used for. The script panel is used for editing the transcript and deleting the things that you do not want on there. Okay. So now let's go ahead and move on to the canvas. And this is your canvas. Okay. And this is where all the visual layers will kind of live. Okay. And this is where you'll be able to add different layers on top of it. So you have video, then you can have text, then you can have caption, then you can have images, then you can have animations, then you can have GIFs. So you can have all of these different layers all into one canvas. And then you can actually select all of those different layers. Now, what you can do in the canvas, the really cool thing is you can select the video, you can actually crop it down, make it bigger, move it around. You can bring it all over the place. So you can really give yourself and have that creative element to the video when it comes to the canvas. Okay. Now you can also have multiple layers in here. So if I come over here and I wanted to add a title, okay, notice how this title is being added over here. And if I wanted the video to be up front, I can bring the video up front. If I wanted the video in the back and I wanted to show the title, you can have it there as well. Now, if I wanted to just select the title and I wanted to move it backwards, I can move it backwards. If I wanted to move it to the front, I can move it to the front. Okay. Now, the biggest thing is you just want it to be selected, because when you have it selected, that is when you can actually work with it. So that is the canvas. Okay. So the next thing we're going to go into is the timeline. Okay. This is really, really, really important, because the timeline is what almost all video editors have. And the timeline is the most accurate way to actually edit videos. And inside of the timeline, you'll see something right here. It's a view called layers. Okay. You can also extend the timeline to make it a little bit bigger so you can view things. As you see here, you don't see any of the layers here, but when you select this right here, you'll be able to see the different layers, and you can select which layer you want to work with, which layer you want to improve, which layer you want to move around. So as you can see, this layer is selected, but when I select this layer, I can mess around with this layer right here. Okay. Now, the timeline is where you can actually do a lot of edits for, again, how long you want something to be on the timeline. So if I want this title to only be seen for 2 minutes, I can control that here, and I can stop it at the 2-minute mark. So you can see the length of the video, because it is a timeline right up here. Okay. And I wanted to add another title. I can do that right here, and then I can edit that from here to here. And then it'll snap. It'll make it very easy to add images and move things around. So that is the use of the timeline. Now, using your trackpad, you can zoom in or out. You can also do it using Command or Control, and you can hit plus or minus. That will actually zoom in or out. And then if you have a trackpad or a mouse, you can actually select Shift and go right and left and scroll, and it'll allow you to actually go forward and back as you are zooming. Okay. So that is the timeline. Then there is something called the properties panel. Okay. Now the properties panel is right over here. Okay. This is where you can actually get nitty gritty with whatever you're editing inside of the canvas, also inside of the timeline. Okay. So let's say if I wanted to edit just the title, I can select this. I can select the title. I can move this around. Okay. So I can mess with this, move it up and down. I can change the font to this. Okay. Let's say I want to make this bold. I want to change the font to like 500. I could do that. So you can definitely mess around with a lot of settings here. You can mess around with the fill. I can change it to green or yellow. I'm going to keep it yellow. I can add borders to this. I can add a background to this. I can add live text to this if I wanted to. Whatever it is that I want to add to this, I can mess around with this. I can give it animations, right? I can make it spin, right? As you can see, it's spinning. So the properties panel allows you to edit the individual things that are on your canvas. If I wanted to edit the video, you can do so as well. You can change the length of the audio. You can add different effects to this, right? So if I wanted to add a blur, I can add a blur to this. I can take this away. I can pixelate this, okay? So you can have a lot of fun editing whatever it is on the canvas using the properties panel. And this allows you to add like different transitions if you wanted to. You can show the clip. You can actually speed up the clip. And this is where a lot of the nitty-gritty editing can happen for each individual thing in each individual section or each individual layer that is inside of the canvas. So that is the properties panel, okay? So moving along, then you have what I call the top bar setting, okay? Now, Descript does not have a word for this, so I'm calling this the top bar setting. Now, the top bar setting is consistent of a few different things. It has media, it has record, it has text, it has shape, and it has templates, okay? As you can see here, these are the big boulders of the top bar setting, okay? Now, inside, media obviously has a lot of things inside of it, so let's dive into that. So files is where everything that you have downloaded from Descript will be found inside of files, okay? Then you have videos, which you can see right here, okay? And as I walk you through the videos, videos is where you're gonna be able to find B-roll for your video. Okay, so if I type in happy birthday, right, I'll be able to find multitudes of videos about happy birthday, and you can use that inside of your video. Okay, you just select it and it will put it on there. Now, in the video editing training that's going to be coming next right after this, we will walk you through how to create scenes and add that on there. This is a generic tutorial and overview. Okay, now the next thing after that you have is GIFs or GIFs. You can find happy birthday GIFs right here, as you can see, and you can have all of those elements added to your video as well if you wanted to add that on there. Okay, so that is the GIFs or GIFs section. Then you have images, so you can take happy birthday. Now you've got images that you can use as well as a part of your video, which will allow you to add different elements to this. Okay, then you have music. So if I go over here to audio, audio has two elements to it, which is music and sound effects. So if I type in, let's say, energy, right? I'm just throwing something out. So you'll have different things that come up with energy, and you can play this and you can listen to the music. Or if you want certain sound effects, like you can say punch, right? If someone's getting punched, you can have the sound effects of something getting punched or someone getting punched that you can add to your video. Now, this just allows you to get creative. I'm not going to dive too deep into this, but we will dive into specifically how to edit your video ads. But these are all the elements that are inside of the media section. Okay. Then you have the record section, and this will allow you to actually do a recording inside of Descript. Okay. Then you can actually do audio only. You can record it with your camera, right? And then the video will pop up, and you're able to actually record with the video on, or you can do a screen recording, kind of like what we're doing right now. You can select the microphone that you want to use. You can select the camera that you want to use. You can select the display screen, and then you can just hit recording, and it'll add the script as well. So that's the record section of the top bar setting. Now, going into the text side of things, you have titles, you have subtitles, you have plain text. You can also add captions. Okay, so if I add captions, you can see the captions right there. Now, as you can see, captions is selected right here. It's on the canvas, right? And if I want to delete anything, you can just delete stuff. So if I want to edit the captions, I have the captions right here. I can change the font to 100. Then I can change the fill color if I wanted to, whatever I want it to be, right? And then as you can see that the video goes on there, and you can change, you can have live text in there, so you can mess around with the properties panel right here when it comes to different types of text. Then you have shapes. Okay, so you have a rectangular shape, you have an ellipse, you have a waveform. So the waveform is when you play the video. Check this out. Right, when the video is actually going. So you can see that there's a waveform. So if you're doing an audio editing or you're posting something on Instagram, this will come in handy. It also has lines, arrows, progress bar. If you wanted to add that to your video, you totally can do that in the shapes section. Then you have templates. Okay, these are going to be my templates. So my templates are going to be all the templates that you have stored. Then you have gallery of templates. Okay, so this goes up and down. Then you have different titles that you can choose from if you wanted to go about it that way. Then you have different captions. Okay, if you want different caption styles to show up on your videos. All right, this will actually go through as well. Then you have intros. Okay, this is going to be all of like different intros that you can add. Right, so you can see all that together right there. Then you can add slides. Okay, if you wanted to create different slides, you want to add the video process to this, you can do that as well. You can do multicam. So if you're doing a recording, or if you do a coaching call and you bring a student on and you're doing an interview, you can take that and turn that into this. Then you have audiogram. So whatever you have written, it'll turn into kind of like an audiogram where like you have the waveform and you have the words actually going through so people can actually listen to it. If you want to do vertical, which will be your Instagram stories or your TikTok posts, you can do so as well. And they have templates for that. And then any type of annotations, which will be the arrows that you want to add or lines underneath, any overlays, right? So if you want to add rain, you want to add different elements to this, to your video, you'll be able to add that in there. Then they also have frames for your computer, your photo booth frames. You could do browser frames. You could do iPad frame, whatever it is that you want to put in there. That's what the templates allow you to do. Okay. Now, moving along, the next thing we're going to talk about is exporting and publishing. Okay. So now there's two options. When you hit the publish button right here, there's two options right here. There's export and there's publish. So let's talk about publish first. Okay. Publish will allow you to create a link for your video to share it. So if you want to actually publish it on the internet and you want to share it with the student community, okay, so if you make your ad and you want to share your ad with the student community, well, you can take the link and you can actually share it and we'll be able to actually view it. So you can change the resolution here if you wanted to. You can make it 1080. Then you could go anyone with link, right? Indexed by search engine. So you can set it up that way. Project access is required, or you could do anyone with link. That's usually the easiest. And then you can change the setting on how you want it. If you wanted to show the transcript, if you want to allow comments, you want to show the author, you want to allow sharing, whatever it is that you want to allow, you can actually do that. Then you hit publish. And what it's going to do, it's going to generate a link for you that you can actually go ahead and copy this. So if I copy this and I paste the link over here, you'll be able to see that this video is able to be seen, right? That's really, really, really cool if you're publishing the video without having to download it and push it up. Then you have export. Export is actually where you're downloading the video and you can download it in different formats. So you have your audio, GIF, timeline, transcript, subtitles. Then you can actually export it, okay? Now, when you're exporting it, guys, it's very, very, very important. Sometimes Descript will like to change it to current scene. You actually want to make sure that you are exporting in current composition, because if you do current scene, it's going to take like 2 to 3 seconds of the video and it's going to download that, but you actually want to do current composition only. Okay. Then you can change the resolution to it, change the quality if you want. If you want to mess around with the sample rate, the audio bit rate, the normalized volume, you can do so as well. And then if you want to add any metadata, and you can do that as well if you wanted to change the title of the video. So that is the entire exporting and publishing section of Descript. Now, one bonus element that we just found out recently is that we recently discovered that you can use your phone as a high quality webcam, right? And you can actually record it directly into Descript. So you have this record, you can start a project, you can go camera, you can select the iPhone, and you can actually start recording, or your Android phone, which is really awesome. So I know that iPhone has this feature natively inside when they connect with an iPhone and a MacBook or your Mac computer. It does that very easily. Now, the Android phones also have this feature, but I think you have to allow it from an external app. So you have to download an app and the app allows you to actually do that. Now, you can still record it on your phone and export it to your computer. However, this is an alternative. Okay, so if you wanted it, if you're a little bit more advanced and you wanted to set this up and you wanted to go down this area and you're like, hey, I want to record directly into Descript using my phone, then absolutely go ahead and do so. There are tons of tutorials on YouTube that will walk you through this. You can type in how to use my phone as webcam and they'll walk you through this. Now, remember, I want to remind you and I want to empower you that we were not born knowing this knowledge, okay? How do we learn this? That's right. Just like you, we were resourceful, right? And we found a way to actually learn this and be resourceful with this. So I urge you to actually get resourceful with this process. And this is what's going to allow you to actually learn and do the things that you want and not be a failure uniform student, right? Somebody who just sits and complains rather than being resourceful and actually taking their knowledge and taking their expertise. Rather than sitting around, you can empower yourself to actually take the next step. Because I always have this quote that I tell myself, when there's a will, there's always an answer on the internet. Okay, you guys have a computer, you guys have these resources. I'm very, very, very sure that you can jump on and you can set this stuff up and you can be resourceful. So I urge you, embrace your resourcefulness, utilize the tools that you have at your disposal. Utilize the tools that you have at your disposal so you can get to that next level, because all of you are winners. So with that being said, team, that was the Descript Tech tutorial. If you have any questions on how to utilize Descript, there's an additional tutorial on Descript that we have linked right here. They have tons and tons and tons of tutorials on YouTube as well. So I hope you found that useful. Now back to the main training.
All right, welcome back from that quick mini training about the tech tutorial for Descript. So Descript, again, is an amazing tool, right? A lot of the AI that is built in there and a lot of the B-roll and a lot of the things that it allows us to do is just so absolutely phenomenal. It works very similarly to like Google Drive and kind of like cloud-based softwares. And so we really love it because it's kind of like a beginner-friendly software, but it also has a lot of those advanced features as well. So that's the reason why we love this specific software. But again, remember, it is just a tool, and down the road, we might decide to use a different tool because the tools are just designed to help us get the job done. Okay, so with that being said, the next part of this specific training section is now going to go ahead and dive into the step-by-step of actually editing the video ads using the tool Descript. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and cut over to that tactical step-by-step training right now, and it's going to go ahead and walk you through what the actual editing process looks like for taking that raw footage, right, with all the mistakes that you might have in there, all of the mess ups, all that kind of stuff, and then how to actually be able to edit it, how to clean it up, how to add the B-rolls, how to add the frames, all of that. Let's go ahead and cut over to that quick mini training right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this mini training where we're going to walk you through the step-by-step process on how to edit your video ads. I know this has been a great journey, a journey of you learning skill sets, and now we are at the home stretch. So first, you created your ad creative script, then you actually recorded your ad, and now you're almost there, right at the home run mark, where you're going to be editing your video ad so it is ready for the next step. So let's jump in and start making that happen. So part one is going to be editing the main video. And so what we're going to do is the first thing that you want to do is you want to go ahead and create a new project for videos, okay? So what you want to go ahead and do is you want to go ahead and create a new project, okay? When you create a new project, it's going to pull something up like this for you. Then you can go ahead and create the title. So let's just call this whatever your company. If we are doing NutriFit ad, I'm going to call this test, okay? And as I create this, it's also going to create the composition for me as well. Okay, then what I want to do is you want to take and import your video into here. So if I want to go ahead and find the video, just find it where it is in the folder. Then I'm going to drag this video here. I'm not going to do it because I've already done it in another project, but I just want to show you can grab this and you can place it in here and it'll create the transcription for you. Okay, now as you go ahead and do that is once the video is transcribing, you actually want to call this main video. Why do we want to call this the main video? The reason we want to call this the main video is because this is going to be the video that is going to be untouched. It is going to be the raw format. It's going to be the unedited. It hasn't been changed. So we can always reference back to it if needed to. And if something changes or we mess up, we always have this ready to go. That's why we never edit the main video. So I'm going to go back to projects because I already have this project ready to rock and roll. I have this under demo. And as you can see here, we have this setup already. So I have the main video. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take the main video, you're going to duplicate it. And then when you duplicate it, you're going to call this edit number 1. Oops. So this made some tweaks. Let's go edit number 1. Okay. Now I know I have 2 edits number 1. This is something that I did already. So I'm going to delete one. And now I have edit number 1 already. So this is how you toggle between compositions. So I have the main video. This is not going to be touched. Then I'm going to go into edit number 1. Okay, now we're over here in step number 3. What we're going to do is we're going to go through the entire video and we are actually going to edit it. So I'm actually going to do this in real time with you guys. So this is going to be a longer mini training than usual. Okay. And I'm going to walk you through my process of how I edit it, then how I actually shorten the word gaps, and then how I actually go throughout this process. So this is probably going to take you about an hour or so, depending on how long the video is and what you have to cut out. But a lot of this really depends on listening and editing through the process. Okay. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to start editing this and start giving you feedback as I kind of go along with this. Okay. So a lot of this is you just kind of listen to the video, see what you like, what you don't like, and I'll give you my suggestions on how I edit the videos. That way you can go about it yourself. Okay, so as you can see that there's this massive gap here that I don't start speaking till here. So we can take this right at the beginning and I can actually bring this all the way forward where I know it's just going to start speaking right here, right? So we just go. And if I want to go faster a little bit, I can change the playback speed over here to about 1.5. This will allow me to edit a little bit quicker. Okay, cool. This is for you. So I know there's a word gap right there. So if I want to actually lessen a lot of these word gaps, you can do this very easily. So what you do is you come over here, you go shorten word gaps, and you can find word gaps that are longer than 5 seconds or more. And then you're going to go apply to all. Sweet. Now what that did is that actually shortened all of the word gaps. So what I did was, just to review with you guys, is I clicked this star button. I went ahead and selected shorten word gaps, and I shortened everything to less than half a second. Okay, so you can see here there's no longer a wait anymore. Right? So like you can see here that this cut off a little bit of the recording right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, right? So you can see that this cut something off right here. And so I can come in here into the timeline, and I can actually go here. I can select this, and I can actually move this right here, because what it did is I actually cut the word out. So then see how I did that? So because if it was cutting out you before, I wanted you to actually be heard before it goes into the next thing. Okay, so this is really good. And then I can go into the biggest lie, right? And really what it is, guys, it's just listening, editing, listening, editing, listening, editing. It's a constant back and forth. So let's actually go into this again. Right, there's too much of a pause right there. So if I want to go in here, right, I want to go in here, and you can see that there's like, that is completely false. So you guys will see this line right here. This can actually, you can actually trim this down a little bit. So you can drag that, you can bring it back, right? And the reason we're doing this is because, and then you can see there's a little line right there where this word doesn't start. So I'm just going to bring it forward because I want to keep the sentences nice and crisp, right after one another, because the attention span of people are really low. See that? It's like fast, it's snappy now. We want to make it nice and snappy. See that? It cut out another word. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to select this. Then I'm going to move it forward a little bit. So see, like you can see the wavelengths, and you want to just go, okay, wavelengths. That means that is where the word actually stopped. So you can actually move this to where the word stopped, and you guys will be able to hear the word. So that, and so now I'm able to actually hear the full word that I wanted to. If I wanted to get more granular, I can come in here and I can correct this. So I can select, because that's supposed to be mediocre. I can select correct and then mediocre. Okay. And then I hit enter. Boom. And what that did is that corrected the entire word right there. Okay. Then I continue to listen. Right, so I messed up on there. Right, and so it's like, and then I said it again. So you guys notice when I'm recording this, I recorded it in multiple takes. So in the next 30 seconds, I'm just saying the same thing, but I recorded multiple times because I didn't like the way that I recorded it originally. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some really cool editing hacks. So what you're going to do is we're going to take all of this, we're going to highlight all of this because we didn't like any of that. Then we're going to hit Command or Command Delete or Control Backspace. Okay, if you have Windows. Then we're going to edit this right here. So in the next 30 seconds, right? So you can see here, and I said it and settle, and then so I did it again. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this right here and we're just going to select all of that. Then we're going to hit Command Backspace or Control Backspace or Command Delete on Mac. And you can see here now it'll flow. See that? Because I removed this, now the word is actually flowing throughout this entire process. Right? And so I have to do this again and settle for less. So now I have to take this and settle for less, and I have to remove it for where it says when. So when I select it, I'm actually like not deleting the words. I'm actually just like strike through where I don't want them to be listened to, but they're always there because I can make changes if something sounds odd. See that? Now, even though it's like a weird cut, like I've cut in between the video, you can, it sounds very natural. So like we are good to go. Because even though I said the sentence multiple times, right? Then we're just going to keep going. Right? And so I like this one. And so I like this. So you can just go different. And I'm actually just going to, I don't like approach because the approach starts with an A. It allows you to conjoin sentences very easily if you mess up. See that? I literally said that 2 times, but you can actually conjoin them and make it very easy. Right? I said that again. And so I can just like cut this section out. And it says, and achieving. Right? So I did that again. And so, and how you can take a different approach, right? So, and I'm going to share with you how you could take a different approach. How you could take a different approach. So I can remove this, right? Because I already said this right here. I'm going to share with you. And I'm going to share with you how you can take a different. And so I just want approach in here. So I can just come here, right? Approach to dominating your life and achieving the body, wealth, relationships, and finding. And so I can just go and. So I can cut all of this out and I can just have the last statements in here. Right? Okay, so something happened right here that you've always. And so I think it got cut off here. So because it's supposed to say always wanted. So I can come over here, I can grab this and I can move this forward. See that? That's why I don't like to reduce by 5 seconds. I don't like to use the magic gaps. Because it removes words. See that? Now you have to do the editing to make sure that you actually go in here. So you can come in here, you can select this, you can correct, and then you can go always wanted, period, and hit correct, and it will actually have the word segmented in there. Okay? So we got that. There's 2 periods in there. Okay, so now let's continue. Right, so I did that again. And so if we go, which one do we want? We will just remove this sentence right here. Again, hit Command Delete or Control Backspace. Right, so there's a massive pause right there. So what we do is we take this, we select this in the timeline. And oops, not this one. We want to select this. And we bring it really, really, really close to the wavelength. Okay, because that's when I start speaking. Right, okay, so it cut that out again. So that's the problem with doing the shortcuts. We usually don't like doing shortcuts, but this is where you have to be very careful, right? Like that's why you have to go back and listen to it. Living the same mediocre life that you feel, right? And so we gotta come here. You gotta select it, feel, stuck, in, period. And then we hit correct. Sweet. We got double periods there, and now we're good to go. Okay, cool. Then we go into this. Right? Boom. Okay, so I said that again. My name is Coach Malik, and I'm gonna cut it out right there. Let's see how that sounds. All right, so a lot of this is like just like you're fine-tuning it as you're going along. Right, I said it again. So let's cut this entire part out because I started all over again. Right, boom, 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 boom. Right, so this is good. Reach their peak performance. So see this one right here, it's a little bit too, like, you kind of have to watch the timeline. You can actually do this separately. I kind of do it simultaneously. And here we go. But boom, notice that it actually cut out. Notice there, like this means it cut out a word again. So this is the challenge with doing the word gaps or eliminating word gaps, because it'll eliminate too much of the word gap. We do correct their bodies. Correct. And so you can see here, right? Boom, we've discovered that there's 3 things. So as I go along with this, guys, this is how you're editing the video. So you can see here, I did 3 different, we've discovered. So maybe I'll just select one, right? And I'll go, boom, I'll select this one. We've discovered 3 things that are causing men to live a life of mediocrity, to be stuck in average, right? And so this is, now I'm not going to edit the entire thing because this is a video that's already been edited, but that's what you're going through. You're going through the entire video and you're making the edits that are necessary to make the video flow, okay? Then you can actually go back and listen to it. Then you're going to go back and actually listen to it to make sure that everything is good to go, okay? So that is editing the video throughout the entire process. Then what you're going to do is you're going to actually go ahead and shorten the word gaps. Now, what are the word gaps? Now, the word gaps are these little things right here. So if I zoom in a little bit, if I zoom into Descript, you can see that there's this like little section, this little line, it's kind of like a cursor, but it's not the cursor. What it's called, it's a caret, right? And what a caret is, that is where a break is in the editing. And so what you're going to do is you actually just go through and you want to remove any breaks that are in the front of any new sentence or any new caret, right? And the best way to do it is you just go through caret by caret wherever you've made edits, right? So you can see here, this one, right here, this is perfect. This is a perfect example of a word gap. So you can see right here, notice how this starts here and it says it's. So what you want to do is you want to grab it and you want to bring it in and it'll snap right there, right? And you can also do it with this one if you wanted to. You can eliminate this like gap right here if you wanted to, okay? So notice how I'm just going caret by caret, which is wherever I've made edits. Right here, here's another one. See that right there? There's a little bit of a space right there. And we want to eliminate, you can even do it to the previous section where you want to eliminate that space. There you go. Okay. And now what it does, it like tightens up everything. So there's a caret right here. I've made an edit right there. Okay. This one doesn't really need it. It's usually at the beginning of sentences right there. And then we tighten this up and then we can actually take this, grab this, and we tighten that up as well. Okay. Let's take a look, and this might be another one. See that? And so what we're doing now is we're shortening these gaps that exist in the transcript, which will allow you to tighten up the entire video right here. See that? And you can tighten all of this up. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go through and look at, okay, where have I made edits? See that? And this is a fine detail. This is the little things that separate winners from limbic lalus, right? Because most of us just want to get these ads launched. You see here, right? And so you can see that there's a word actually missing right here. There's an entire word that it actually missed. So you have to select this, right? And this is kind of like fine tuning with the cone and we correct it because what it's going to do is you need this in the transcript because there's going to be a section where you actually need the words there to align with what is inside of the video. So if we zoom into this, right? This is where the word starts. So we can't really cut this out, but what we could do is we can't really cut this out because we need that word to be there and we can't really segment this either. So we'll be fine with that. Now let's go ahead and move along. So you'll see it right here. Boom, my name, right? So you do this, boom, and then you bring that back. Very good. And then you're just going to continue to go where we've made all of the edits. CC right here as well. And so what you're doing is you're just going to wherever you've made the edits and you're eliminating all of the word gaps in these sentences. So you want to make sure that the sentences just flow. So once you've done that, right, this is going to be an entire process. Go through it, be patient, take your time, learn this new skill. Okay. Once you've done this, then we're going to go over to step number 5, which is going to be duplicating the composition. Okay. So what you're going to do here is once you're done with the edit, you're going to select here, then you're going to click duplicate. And what it's going to be is now it's going to create a duplicate of it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to call this B-roll. Okay? Bam. So now we've named this B-roll and we want to name this B-roll edit. Okay? Now let's actually go through and setting up the B-roll edit. So step one in adding the B-roll is we want to prepare the scene for the B-roll. Okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to go through the video, and when you find a part that you'd like to add a B-roll to, you're going to hit enter and separate it into a separate line. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go, fellas, if you're a man, so I want to put it right here, okay? So I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to put the cursor right there. Then I'm going to go, if you're a man who is successful in your career, okay, that is a sentence that I want to cover with B-roll. Then I'm going to hit enter again where it says but, okay? I'm going to go back over to man, and then I'm going to put the slash sign right there. And what that did, you notice here that it created a scene for me. Then I'm going to come right over here to but, and I'm going to put another scene right there. So now this is the scene that I want to cover. Okay, so this has been created a scene. So now I can select that. I can select this. Then I'm going to head over to the media section. Then in the media section, I'm going to go over to videos. Then I'm going to type in, okay, what am I looking for? I'm looking for successful in your career. So I can type in career. Okay, so I can use this. I can use this. I can use this. Right, I can use anything. I can use man at job. Right, so I can use any of this. Right, let's say I kind of like this one. I'm gonna add it in there. Okay, so what we do now is boom, that B-roll has been added. So if you play it back, check this out. Right, and so you guys can actually see this inside of the canvas. There you go. See that? Now this has been added. Now, if I want to see this in layers, I can see this layer right here. Okay. Now, if I wanted to speed this up, I can come over here. I can select this. I can select the clip right here, and I can make this into like 1.5 if I want to. Okay. And as you can see, the video is going to be spread up. Boom. All right. So this is like, hey, successful in your career. Obviously, I would not use this clip, but I wanted to just show you as an example of B-roll. Okay, so it's easier to create the scenes and then add the B-rolls later. Then you can add animations to this. Okay, so if you wanted to zoom in or pan, if you wanted to add effects, right? If you wanted to come in, if you wanted to blur this a little bit, you could blur this. If you didn't want to blur this, you could get rid of the blur. And then if you wanted to add a transition, you can add a transition using this white dot right here. So what it'll do, it'll transition into the video. Okay. Now, let's create another B-roll. And so, but you're struggling with your body, energy, and performance. This is for you, okay? So let's actually do this. But if you're struggling with your body, okay, I'm gonna put this right here. And now I'm gonna make this a little bit, like I'm gonna add a lot more B-roll to this. So, but you're struggling with your body. So then we can come over here. We can type in overweight. Okay, and as you can see, you'll see all of this, right? So if I'm going to put this one's a good video, boom. See if you're struggling with your body, and then I can come over here, and I can even put a scene over here so it separates this out, so it'll cover this scene. Then I select this, I come over to media, I go over to video, and let's go low energy. See, it takes a little bit to load. Right now, okay, this does not look like low energy at all, right? So you could just go lazy man. All right, let's see what comes up. Takes a little bit to load sometimes. Okay, right here. So I can see this. All right, this guy's lazy. I'm gonna use this one. This one's a pretty. Let's see if we can find a more lazier individual. Right? Oh, this one's the perfect one, right? So this one's like laziness to the max. So then you're going energy, performance, this is for you, right? Now notice how now all of these sentences, this one, and this one, it's been covered with B-roll. So let's play from the top so you guys can see. So that, and then you can go into The biggest lie that men are being told today, that if you make more money, and then we're like, okay, now let's add, the biggest lie that men are being told today is, so let's say I wanted to add a scene, I hit enter, and then I had slash, and then I can come here, I can go into video, I can type in mistake, let's say. Right, this one's a really good one. This one's a little bit much. This one's I really like this one. This one like allows you to actually see that like, hey, this is the biggest lie that I'm being told. Now, what you're really trying to do is, the biggest thing with B-roll is a lot of it really just comes down to finding B-roll that allows you to elicit emotions. That's what I usually found. And once you find the right B-roll, you can drag it into the scene panel, or you could do it like I'm doing it here, but you'll know, like, you'll watch the video from the start or from how you cover the B-roll and what you're saying. So you watch a video, for instance, right? So like you can see this, like it's not really flowing. So I'm going to come back here and I'm like, I don't really like this, right? So you can come back and I want to find, right? So you can see, so let's say not mistake, let's say tired. Or you can even say like sad. Sad men. Obviously, I'm searching up men because, like, this is an ad for men, right? You could, like, here we go. This is a good one. So then I can replace that with this one. Then I can take this and I can delete this. Okay, we're just going to delete this. And now let's see how this flows, okay? Right? So that's a good one. That elicits emotions, okay? Then I'm going to go through and I am going to select the right B-roll. Now, pro tip for selecting B-roll, guys, one thing I really want to make sure that I iterate, because people can get this wrong a lot, is that pay attention to the little details, okay? Like, this is the difference between excellent, this is the difference between good and great. And if you say something like, hey, you're jumping for joy, and the person who is jumping, but they don't look like joyous and like, they just look sad, like they're jumping, but they don't look very happy, then people, it's a weird thing, people actually like pay attention to those things. So like, it's the little things. Like, for instance, when we were recording an ad and there was a section in there where we typed in, hey, you're going to work with us and leave us a whole bunch of testimonials. And so we selected a B-roll of somebody leaving a testimonial, but they weren't smiling. And so people will pick up on that and they'll be like, this person's leaving a testimonial, but because they're not smiling, they're not leaving a good one. And so you have to, those are the little nuances where now you want to find somebody who's typing something, but they're actually smiling, because then it elicits the emotions, right? Because we're visual beings. And excellence is what separates winners from the ones that never make it. So pay attention to the small things. And these are the things that'll actually compound. So as you're going through this process, as I kind of showed you guys, we like to cover the video in about 75 to 80% in B-roll. And what that does, it catches the attention. So here, I won't add any B-roll, but here I will, right? Here's the truth, brother, right? So we're not right here. I would add a B-roll to this. We're not put on this planet. So I'm like, whoa, okay, I'm going to find something with a planet inside of it. So what you're doing is you're just testing and going through and figuring out what will actually look good in this scenario that I have. So I really kind of like this planet right here. I'll add this on here. Right, and then if I want to speed this up a little bit so it can actually look like really impactful, I'll make this like a 3, right? And then let's see how this looks. Oops, and then it'll zoom out for me. So let's actually zoom in again. So let's start right here. Right? So we're not put on this planet to be, but I just want it to end at 2B, right? So then now I'm going to press enter and I'm going to put a different scene. And then I can put unhealthy, have low energy, and be mediocre. So I can put another B-roll right there. And then I'm going to go, it's not in our DNA. I'm going to put a slash here, a scene there. Okay, a slash will allow you to make a scene. Then you go into video and then you type in DNA. Right? And I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. I want to use one of these like really cool DNA. right? So there's this one right there. Oh, I like this one, right? This is the one that I've used in the past. And so I'm going to put this in here. So now let's watch and play this through. Right? And so you can see that it went a little bit longer because I didn't create the next scene. And so I have to create the next scene. Otherwise, it will actually drag the video to be too long. And so what you can do is if the video is too long or you forgot to create the next scene, what you do is you could just bring this back. And as you can see, the cursor right here is telling me where I'm stopping, right? Because I just want to stop right there and it'll snap. And so what's happened now is boom, and it goes back, and now I can add another scene into this and go from there. So it's very important that like you go one sentence at a time and then you add a scene slash in the next section as well. It'll allow you to actually have the B-roll stick to that specific scene without you having to trim much. So what that looks like is if you wanted to add a scene here, and then you wanted to add a scene here, you want to make sure that you add slashes to both sections. So, and you press enter so it's easy for you to actually edit through it. So that's my recommendation when it comes to like scenes, is that add the slashes before, so that way you can actually go in and just select the right video that needs to be going into it. So again, step number 3 is just repeat the process. Continue making scenes and adding B-roll when at least 75% of the video is filled. Once you've done that, again, I'm not going to do that for this entire video. It's going to take a very long time. Once you've done that, then we're going to go ahead and come over here and we're going to duplicate again. Okay. Now we're going to call this B-roll plus music. Okay. Now we have B-roll plus music. So what we're going to do is we're going to start from the beginning. And now what you're going to do is you're going to select the right area for the music, okay? So as you're kind of listening to this, you're kind of thinking about the tone that you want to create from this section of the video, okay? So like I'm kind of thinking of more of like a wake up vibe, like I want to wake somebody up, like I want to like get them going, like something more intense, but something more thought provoking. So what you're going to do is you're going to come up here when it comes into the media section, then you're going to go to audio. You're going to make sure that you select music. And so I want to do something like intense, right? I can go intense. And then I'm just going to listen to a lot of these and see what vibes feels the best. Oh no, I selected it. Okay, we don't want to select this. So if you have selected by accident, you can always delete it. Let's go to audio. Let's go intense. Let's just listen to it. It's a little too intense. It's a little too happy right there. Right? So I know I like, whenever I want something that's a little bit more intense, I like violin. I really like this one, dramatic strings, okay? So I'm gonna select that, and what's gonna happen is you'll see that dramatic strings will load up right here. So we actually wanna drag this, and we actually wanna make this, we wanna snap this all the way to the beginning. Uh-oh. So let's undo that, and we can actually drag this if we wanted to. Nope, we don't want it to be in the entire scene. We want it to be for the whole thing. So we could actually, there you go. So you want to drag it to the beginning, and then you can put it on a specific scene, or we can extend it so it's easier if we zoom in. We can take this, we can put it right here, and then you can extend this as far as you want to go. So I want to extend this until I start explaining who I am, okay? So I know that I want to change the vibe and the tone of the video based on when I start introducing myself in the video, okay? Because if you're anything like me, and I'm going to put it right here where it says, my name is Coach Malik. Notice how it just snaps? So it's just going to snap. You should have all your B-roll in there, so we should be good to go. Now let's listen through with this. Right, obviously this is sped up, so let's actually bring this down back to 1. Now that's a little too loud. So what you're going to do is you're going to select the music. You're going to go over into the properties panel. You're going to select the music or the soundtrack. Then you're going to head over to the properties panel, and then you can actually mess around with the sound right here. Okay, so I usually like to start with putting it at like -11 and see what it comes out to be. So that's pretty good. I think it's still a little loud. I want it a little bit softer. So let's bring that down and let's see what happens. Okay, that's good. Now I like that. So I have actually added the soundtrack that I wanted for this section. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I like to use the timeline to select where I want it to be. Now, then I'm going to watch the rest of this video and see what kind of tone do I want to set for here. Right here, I want to set more of like an authoritarian tone, right? Like I'm an expert, this is what I've done, and so I will just go, let's go scientific. Right, something scientific. Right, so this is getting a little, no, I kind of like this one. I really like this, so I'm going to add it to it, and what you'll see is that it snaps right here, okay? Now the reason it's doing that is because these sounds are overlapping, okay? So what we could do is we could bring this here, and it'll snap to that. So as soon as this ends, this will start. Now if you wanted to actually the sound to have transition, you can actually use this white dot right here, which will actually add a transition to this. Then the same thing, you go over to the properties panel. Let's bring this back down to, let's say 13, because that one's a little bit louder, and let's see what happens. Right? So you see here, like this transition is not the best. If you're like, that ended very abruptly. And it just ends abruptly. So what you want to do is you can actually drag this white dot, and this will allow you to create transitions. And now it starts the new soundtrack. So I like to add transitions when it comes to soundtrack of probably like 4 or 5 seconds. That way it doesn't end abruptly and then it starts the next one, right? And so you could see now I've set the tone for this soundtrack, and where do I want to end this, right? Because this one's a pretty long one, and so let's decide where I want to end this, right? And so I want to end this right here. Now it's up to you. You can actually take this all the way to the end if that's how you like. But towards the end, I want to create more of a empowering vibe, right? Right. This is a little still too loud. I want to bring this a little bit lower. All right. Let's see. Yeah, it's a little too like musically. So I would, in the future, I would change this, but just for this example, I'm going to leave it in there. Then I would come over here, and then let's say I want to find another one. Okay, so I come over here, I go to audio. Let's say I want something more epic. That's a little bit too much. right? I kind of like that. So I'm going to add that in there. Bam. And so you could see is that it added it originally. Sometimes it'll actually do that. So you'll need to drag it. So you can zoom out a little bit and mess around with the timeline of where you want it to be. And then you could drag it and then just clip it exactly where you need it to be. You can clip it to the edge right there. And then this is where zooming in and zooming out comes in handy, where you can select the audio, move it, connect it where you want it, and be exactly where you want it to be. And if you wanted to extend it, I don't think you can extend this one because this one's only maybe a minute long. And then you can actually find another one after that if you want, or you can find a longer one and actually put it in here. Let's actually bring the noise down of this to 15 as well. And then you can actually create the transitions right here if you wanted to. Let's go ahead and snap this to there. Okay, so this is snapped. Sometimes it'll be weird about snapping, so you might need to put it a little bit over, and then you can actually decrease it if you needed to, so you could do it that way. Then add the transitions. Okay, so let's add 3-second transitions to both of these. And voila. So that I will go back and I listen to it. Does it sound good? Is it overpowering the words that I'm speaking? And then you can add another section right here. So that is how you actually add more soundtracks. If you wanted to trim any of the soundtracks, you just go, okay, I want this soundtrack to end right here. And then I want the other soundtrack to be added right there. So you are good to go. And then you're going to edit the volume and then you're going to finalize the soundtrack. Okay. Now, once you have done this, now part 4, right? You have added the B-roll, you have added the music, you have edited the video. So now there's been 3 edits that I've already made to this. Now we're going to go ahead and export the video. Okay. Now, why are we going to export the video? The reason is because it will make adding the frame to the video 10 times easier. Now, as a reminder, this is not going to be the final video. Okay. And the reason why we're exporting this is because it's going to make it easier for us to add the frames, which we're going to be creating in part 5 right here. Okay. So what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to hit publish. Then you're going to hit export. Okay. Then what you want to do is you want to make sure that it says current composition. Okay. Then you're going to change the resolution to 1080. You're going to make sure the quality is high. And then you're going to select export. Okay. We're going to select export. And it'll ask you where you want to actually save this. So we actually want to save this as B-roll plus music. So that way it is known that this is going to be saved as B-roll plus music. You can save or whatever it is that you want. And then you're going to select save and it's actually going to start exporting. Okay. So while it's exporting, let's move on to the next step, which is part 5, which is going to be making the frames. Okay. And this is where we're going to be making the frames inside of Canva. So if you select this link right here, so the first step is you want to import the Canva templates. Okay. This is the first step that you're going to do. So you can select this link and what's going to happen is you'll be able to select any of these frames that we have created for you. So there's tons that we've utilized over the years that you guys can use as templates. You guys can make edits to them and use the ones that you actually like. Now, why is the white line here? The white line is because this is where the video is going to go in the middle. You want the text to be at the top and you want the video to be in the middle. You can see right here. Okay. And so you can use one of our frames that we have given you as inspiration. Or what you can also do is you can use the Facebook ads library to find more inspiration as well. Just as you did with your image ad creative, right? Creating your image ads, you can actually do the same, go inside a Facebook ad library and look at other people's videos that have the frames on there, and you can actually utilize those as well. Okay. Now, once you have done that, so let's go ahead and we pick the right frame. So I'm going to come over here and we're going to go ahead and pick the right frame that we want to use. Now, obviously I'm going to go ahead and just use this one for the example, but you can tweak this based off of what offer it is that you're doing. So if you have a free guide, if you have a free challenge, whatever it is that you're doing, you want to go ahead and actually edit that according to what your program is all about. Now, the frames, when we're designing the frames, this is really all about getting the attention of the individual. It's all about pattern interrupt. So if somebody's scrolling, right, you want to make sure that you have something inside of the frame that's going to get this individual to stop and go, hey, let me actually pay attention to this video. So if I was to edit this one, I would go free 21-day transformation for men, become a pinnacle man, which like, well, nobody really wants to become a pinnacle man. They don't know what that is. I become healthier, right? Let's change this. Become healthier and healthier, have more energy. So I would change this, right? So like it's healthier. No one really cares about healthier. Let's actually change this to get leaner. Gain, I would say like gain. So because really what we're really talking about in this ad is having energy and performance. So I would say something along the lines of free 21-day transformation challenge for men that want to, free 21-day challenge to increase energy and I'm going to change this right here and performance. Let's actually capitalize this performance. Okay. And increase, let's spell that correctly. Increase. Okay. And now what would I actually make red? Okay. So I would make the and at the bottom. Then as you can see here that there's this line right here, I'll probably move this. Let's say maybe delete this line. We don't want to have that. To increase, maybe I can change this, that want to, and see how energy is right there. Boom. We want to move that over. That want to increase, I'm going to put right here. Let's make this red because red pops out. Okay. Increase energy, and I'll make this red as well. And let's go back over to here. And it's hard to edit this when it's in this little tiny window, but obviously you guys do get the point. Like tweak this around, guys. It doesn't have to be ours. For the sake of this training, I'm making it a little bit quicker so you guys can actually go through this. Then what you want to go ahead and do is once you finalize the ad, once you finalize the frame for the ad, then you're going to download it and then we're going to add it to the video. Okay. So what you're going to go ahead and do is you're just going to go to share. You're going to go to download. You want to make sure that you select, because there's tons of pages on here. So you want to just make sure that you select the right pages. So you want to unselect this, select page 1. Okay. And you want to hit download. And then what it's going to do, it's going to start downloading, and it went ahead and it downloaded. Okay. So with that being said, we are now done with the making the frames inside of Canva. Again, take your time, get creative with this. It's going to be very important for us to also be compliant with the Facebook ad policy. So we will help you review your frames and give you more feedback onto the frames. So let's move on to part number 6, where we're going to add the frames to the video. Okay. So then we're going to come back over to Descript. We've exported the video. We've got the video. Everything's good to go. We're going to come over here and then we're going to select the plus button. We're not going to duplicate this. We're going to select the plus button. Okay. And now we're going to call this composition frame plus caption. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to actually import the video. So we have this B-roll plus music. Okay. So we're going to let it do its thing. Okay. Let this prepare. So it's actually preparing. It's about 10% ready. Then as it's actually preparing, once it's actually done, we're going to go ahead and bring the frames into this. All right, so the video has finished transcribing. So you can see that the video is transcribed. Everything is good to go. Now, I know some of you guys might be like, why don't we just take the video why don't we just take the previous composition and just utilize this? You absolutely can. What we have found is that when you have segmented pieces of your composition like this, it's hard to add the frame to that, because what you have to do is you have to individually fit all of these pieces onto the frame. Versus if you export it and you import it again as one entire frame or one entire canvas, then it's very easy for you to add the frame and refocus it and repurpose it and stuff like that. So that's what I have found that has been very easy. So just export it, add the frame, and I'll show you how to actually do that. Okay. So what we're going to do, once the video has finished transcribing, we're going to change the aspect ratio of the video. So you're going to come over here and we're going to actually make it into a square, which is 1:1. Okay. So that is going to be the aspect ratio for the video. Then we're going to take the frame. So wherever you have the frame, if you've saved it in your folder, so I have the frame right here, I'm actually going to bring it in and I'm actually just going to drag it to the video. Then I'm going to do, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to center it with the video. Then I'm going to zoom out a little bit because I want the frame to cover the entire video. Okay. As you can see, I just have to go through, I have to drag this all the way till the end. Now you can zoom out a lot and do this as well. If you zoom out completely, I can take this and I can make it the length of the video. Now, where the heck did the video go? So the video is still there. The frame is just on top of the video, but we want the frame to be behind the video. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the frame right here on the timeline, then head over to Canvas. Then we're going to right click and then we're going to put move backwards. Ta-da! There's the video. Okay. Now, as you can see, there's this white line and we want to move the video down a little bit. So you can select the video, then you can use your arrows on your keyboard to move the video down. Now I'm going to zoom in just a little bit because we can see, as you can see, we can actually increase the side here of the canvas if we wanted to. And we can see that there's this white line. So how do we actually fix that? You actually increase the video. So what you could do is you can actually zoom in using the width and it will actually take care of that for you. And as you can see now that the video fits on the frame. So that is how you add the frame to the video. So you got to add the frame, you got to extend it to the length of the video, and then you have to move it backwards, and then you have to readjust the video onto the frame. So that is how you're going to add the frame to the video. Now let's move over to part number 7. Hang in there with me, team. I know this is a long one. I know this is a process, but you guys are doing great. You guys are all winners and you guys are all pushing through. So let's go ahead and add captions. This is also very, very, very easy to do. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to head over. I like to actually go to the top of the script first. Whenever I do any changes or add anything, I always like to do it at the top of the script first. Then you're going to go over to text and then you're going to add captions. Okay. Now, as you can see, the captions are showing up at the top right here. And now we want to adjust the captions positions. Okay, so we want to actually move this, and it's got these tools and these lines on how you can edit this. Now, the cool thing is the captions are encompassing the entire video, so we are good with that. If the captions were not encompassing all the video, like let's say they were doing this, then you can actually take this entire thing and drag it to the length of the video. So once the captions are in place, now what we want to do is we want to edit the visuals of the captions, okay? And so you can select the caption. Okay, you want to make sure that the caption is selected in the canvas. Then you can change the font right here. So there's a few different fonts. You can actually make this one bold. I really like Manrope. Then you can change the fill, okay? I like to just keep the fill white. Keeps it really, really, really simple. Then you can actually do what we call live text here, right? So this has background. I like to just eliminate everything and keep things really, really, really simple first, okay? There is a title. We don't want the title. Let's delete the title. Let's add the caption and let's place that right there, okay? Now we have live text. Usually I like to mess around with live text because what live text does, it allows us to change what is actually going on. And so what we want to do is we want to do captions on live text, and then we can change the setting right here of how we want it to look, okay? Now, how we want it to look is the active word, the fill, or what is going to be inside is going to be black, as you can see right here. And then the background is going to be red. I like to keep it black and red because of the font, but I want to actually make this white. It'll actually look a little bit better. That's a little bit too much. Let's actually make it black again. Okay. So now we are done with the fill. Now there's this background going on right here. There's a shadow. I don't want this shadow. So if I actually play this, you'll see what the caption actually looks like now. Now this caption is very big. I want to actually make it smaller. So it's a little bit too big. So I like to either aim for, not 770. I like to either aim for 70 or I like to aim for 80. Okay. Now, as you can see, this white is a little bit difficult to see. Let's see. Yeah, this white is a little bit difficult to see. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a border, right? That doesn't look that too good. We're going to create a background to this. Nope. We can actually go ahead and mess around with this a little bit. So you can add a background. You can add a border if you wanted to. You can limit how big the border actually is, right, on the text. But I think it also does it to the fill word. So we actually don't want to do that. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to change the fill color, and we can change this to more of a gray. We can change this more to a black. We can change this more to a white. We kind of like to leave it white, and then we can add a border around it or a background to it if you wanted to. But the problem with the background is it doesn't allow you to change actually you could change the opacity like this if you wanted to do it that way. So you could change the background. You can add the different captions. You can add the future word to be filled with white, or you can be filled with black. So let me show you kind of what that looks like if I wanted to change the future word. So all the future words are covered in black. I don't like to do that when it comes to the caption. So I don't like to do future word. I like to just do the active word, and you could just fill whatever it is that you want to fill. And then you just select the background so it actually highlights that specific word. So keeping the captions really simple, something people can actually read, changing the font to something that people can actually read as well. So if you wanted to make it more bold, you could italicize it if you wanted to. So now you are all done with the captions. So you can see that as it goes through. Okay. So now, once you've edited the visuals of the captions, now we got to go through and we have to edit the captions in the script panel. Okay. And once you've set the caption, right, this is going to involve fixing the transcript of punctuation and spelling of words. Okay. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to head over to the transcription, and we're just going to read it through. Okay. The best way that I like to do this is I like to just select a word. I like to select correct. And then after correct, there's this little arrow here, and then you can go into edit mode. Now it's in edit mode, so you can actually make edits as you need to. Okay. So as you can see here, if you're a man who's successful in your career, energy, and performance. So right here with your body, I want to add a comma to this. So now you can edit free for all as if you're editing a document. Okay. So now let's make the necessary edits to this. And if you're like, I don't like to put and, I want to switch this with this, you can, but I like to leave the word in there because it allows you to have the transcript properly. Then it goes, the biggest lie that men are being told today is that you have to make more money everything. That's completely false. And here's the truth, right? So you want to just go, you could keep that the same, or you could leave it. We're not put on this planet to be unhealthy, have low energy. It's not in our DNA. So you can capitalize DNA if you wanted to. That's not how we're created. In the next 30 seconds, I'm going to share with you the real reason that's causing men to live a life of mediocrity and settle for less when it comes to their bodies. And if you wanted to not have that capitalized, you just bring that in. And I'm going to share with you how you can take a different approach to dominating life. And this is a run-on sentence where we want to leave that in there. Okay. And achieving the body, health, and relation to the purpose you've always wanted. And so this is the end of a sentence. So we put a period there, and it'll actually capitalize that. And I promise you, it has nothing to do with intermittent fasting, going to the gym, or eating healthy. So this is a pretty good transcript that it transcribed, and it got the name right. Usually it'll mess up the name, so you have to fix that, but you have to capitalize that, right? I'm the co-founder of Pinnacle Man Project, right? So capitalize that. And after helping do X, Y, and Z, we've discovered. So it's done a pretty good job, right? So discovered the 3 things that are causing men when it comes to their health. We've discovered. So obviously I didn't edit the entire transcript. That's why this is happening. For you guys, it'll be already edited, right? Live a life of, right here you could see. So we could come in here, we can edit this, right? We could do mediocrity, okay? And you can see right here. So what we're doing is we're just relentless excellence, guys. It's going through and actually making the edits that are absolutely necessary through the transcript. So you're going to go through this and you're going to make the edits. Now, again, I only edited like a quarter of this video, so that's why it's coming out the mistakes towards the end. But for you guys, obviously, all you guys will have to do is just edit the transcription that is here. Now, this goes back to excellence. I want to remind you guys, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. Some people will just have the captions that are misspelled and they just let it go, but putting attention to detail is what separates you. And this will create the visual perception for quality for your company. Okay. So I highly urge you to take the time to actually do it. Okay. So with that being said, once you have actually edited the captions in the script panel, we're all wrapped up with part number 7. Okay. Now going into part 7.5, okay, you have the option of actually speeding up the video. Now, this is completely optional, okay? Now, we sometimes will have videos that go over, okay? They'll go over to 3 minutes, 30 seconds. We'll go over to 4 minutes. And so if your video is longer than 3 minutes and 30 seconds, then we recommend speeding it up to bring it below 3 minutes, okay? Now, how would you do that? You're gonna go ahead and actually select the video inside of the canvas. Then in this area right here, it says show clips. There should only be one clip in here. If there's more than one clip, that means you've edited in this area. This is the only edits that you will be making is to the transcript, not the video. Okay, so you should have no more than one clip in here. Then you're going to select the preference setting. Then you're going to see a speed clip right here. And we like to bring it up to 1.25. Okay, so you can start testing this at 1.15, but I know this video is going to do well at 1.25. And we're going to go ahead and speed it up. Now, what you might want to do is once you speed it up, you might need to zoom out a little bit and make sure that the captions and the frame shortened with the video. Because if it did not do that, then it will make it very, very, very difficult. So now let's listen back to it and make sure that it doesn't sound too robotic. So that sounds pretty good, okay? So if we take this and I'll show you what like not sounding good would look like. So if I come here and I put this at 1.5, okay? Now let's listen to it. See, that's a little too fast, right? And if I go even faster, right, it just sounds off. So you want it to sound actually natural. So if I go 2, now that just sounds really, really, really off. So you just want to select it. We start at 1.15 and then you go all the way up to 1.25. That will keep the words really natural, okay? And then what it'll do is if I take this out, so let's see what the original length of this video was. Okay, so if I take this out and I return this back to 1, the original length of this video was 3 minutes and 26 seconds, okay? So if I actually now just speed this up, now this video is going to be 2 minutes and 17 seconds, right? So speeding it up makes a very big difference, but you guys want to make sure that you're not speeding it up too much. Otherwise, what's going to happen is that it's just going to sound off and it's not going to sound the best, okay? So that's part 7.5. It is completely optional. You can speed it up if you want to. We only speed it up when videos run long. If it's not running long, then keep it exactly how it needs to be. All right, guys, now moving on to part number 8, which is the final export. Okay, the final export. We are all the way through. I know this was a long mini training. I know we pushed through, but this is how you edit the entire video. Okay, so this final part is we're going to go ahead and actually export it. So you're going to go over to publish. You're going to go over to export. You want to make sure that you have current composition selected, and then you're just going to select export. Okay, we select export, pick the area that you want it to be saved in, and then we want to call this, okay, it's very important that we actually call this the right thing. We want to call this the final ad, okay, because this is the final ad that you are finishing. This is the final version. Then we're going to hit export, and what it's going to do, it's going to export the entire video. Now, once it's exported, we'll come right on back and walk you through the next process. All right, team. So the video has been exported. Now let's go over to part 9, which is going to be reviewing the video. Okay. So once the video has been exported, what we're going to do is we're going to watch the video through to make sure the entire thing has exported properly. Okay. So we're going to pull this up so you can see this is the ad. And what you want to do is you actually want to play this through and you want to listen to this, right? Obviously, I'm not going to do this because this is my example, but you can go ahead and listen through with this. Make sure that the B-roll is proper. Make sure that you've set everything up properly and make sure that it flows properly. And then if you need to make any edits, you can go ahead and make edits inside of this one right here, which is B-roll plus music. That is the one that you want to make edits to. And then if you make any edits, you're going to have to repeat these processes right here. So if you make any edits, you're going to have to redo export 1. You don't have to do the frames, and then you have to re-add the video to the frame because you've just edited the video. So if you do make any mistakes, it's okay. Just go back and redo it again. It is completely all right. Okay. So what we want to do is if you want to make any edits, as a reminder, you want to do it to the B-roll plus music composition. Okay. Because the frame composition, we want to keep it a single composition so it's easy for you to utilize it and do the last little bit of touches that you need. And it's only around putting the video on the frame. So if you want to make any edits, do it to the B-roll plus music. But if everything looks solid, then you have now created your first video ad from scratch. Like, congratulations, way to go. I know this was a long one. This was a home stretch. We brought it home. You did a phenomenal job. We're super excited to see your video ad inside of the community. So we went through this entire step-by-step process of editing the video ads. Make sure that if you have your video ad ready, go ahead and share it. You can also publish it, right? So you can go in here and you can publish it and you can share the link for us to review inside of the community so we can give you feedback. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our step-by-step mini training on how to edit the video ads. Now we will return back to the main training.
All right, welcome back from that tactical training about the step-by-step of editing the video ads. Now, again, I know I'm saying quick mini training, but a lot of these side trainings are not as quick because they are extremely tactical. But I really hope you guys are seeing how much effort we are putting in over-delivering, right? This is literally stuff that we've learned over years and years and years and years. This is not stuff that we literally just read a book on, right? Or took a course on, right? Literally, we have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last few years investing into programs, and we have never seen a program that is as tactical and as specific about allowing their students to see what the actual process and procedure looks like step by step, click by click. And so I hope you guys can appreciate how much effort we are putting into making this as seamless as possible for you, so that way you can actually follow along step by step, but then also layer in what it is that you know or your own experiences and learn from other people as well. Okay. Now, having said that, one of the big warnings I want to go ahead and talk about here is that do not be a spoon-fed student. Instead, learn to be a winner student. Okay. Because sometimes a student might ask the question, hey, but what if I want to do X, right? With the software. How do I do XYZ, right? Here's the thing. Everything that we know about these softwares, we learned from Google, from YouTube. And then on top of that, these are massive companies, right? The Descript, for example, has amazing resources. They do live webinars, I think almost like on a weekly basis. They have a massive help library. Even if you reach out to them, they're so helpful. And so this is why the most useful skill in both business and in life that you can use is resourcefulness, okay? Because if you are unable to try and help yourself, then nobody else is going to help you, right? Obviously, we're here to support you, but you got to show that you at least made some effort, right? Because even for us, who do we go to ask for help? Hey, 9 times out of 10, we're literally having to learn it. We go to Descript and ask them, hey, how do you guys do this? How do you guys do that? Everything that we or I or any of the coaches or anybody else knows when it comes to any of this tech stuff is not because we were born knowing it, okay? It's because of the fact that we used our resourcefulness to actually go out there and learn it from the resources that are out there, okay? So again, we don't know everything about Descript. We can try to help, but at the end of the day, you want to learn how to be resourceful so you can go out there and do it yourself. So again, we would urge you to cultivate that winner's mindset mindset, okay? So that way you can be resourceful, because getting good at XYZ software, getting good at XYZ technology, getting good at XYZ process is at the end of the day a skill. And skill equals knowledge times reps, but sometimes I like to say skill equals reps times knowledge, because more often than not, it's going to come from you just tinkering and having the patience to do repetition after repetition after repetition, right? A lot of students, unfortunately, who want to put on the failure uniform spend like 5 minutes going through the software and say, oh, I don't get it, it's confusing, I'm overwhelmed, I'm confused. You know how many times sometimes I spend 30 minutes, 40 minutes just exploring the software, having the patience to sit down and actually just click around and make mistakes, right? That's why sometimes we say that skill equals reps times knowledge, because a lot of times it's about the reps even more so than the knowledge. And then guess what? One day you're going to wake up and then you're going to be making a tech tutorial training and people are going to say, wow, you're so good at technology. And you're going to laugh because you're going to realize that at the end of the day, you're having the same circle of life happen to you as well, right? In the same way that you're like, wow, these guys are so good at technology. At the end of the day, it's because we learned it and now you guys say that we're good at technology, okay? And then worst case scenario, remember, we are happy to help you, but only after you've tried to help yourself. So please make sure that you are being resourceful instead of just dumping on the community or on the coaches to try and solve your tech issues. Of course, at the end of the day, we're here to help you. You got this. Don't worry. You are going to do amazing throughout this entire process, okay? So that, ladies and gentlemen, is this specific training section on the editing of the video ads. Again, if you have any questions about this, please make sure you go ahead and let us know inside of the student community, and also fill in the rest of the community. Build those relationships publicly as you post in the student community, right? If you had a major win, right? If you had a breakthrough, if you struggled with something, right? Whatever it is, share in the student community, because the more you share, the more other people are going to share, and that way we can all build more and more closer relationships throughout this entire process. So hope that makes sense. Again, you're going to absolutely crush it. With that being said, I will catch you inside of the next training section. All right, welcome to this training section that's going to be about the community ad creative. Okay, so all of the previous training sections have really been about ad creative in general, right? So you can literally use the trainings and the fundamentals and the principles that you've been learning and all the resources that we recommend that you go out and learn from in order to go ahead and create ad creative in general, right? Regardless of the platform, regardless of the offer, regardless of the product, regardless of the industry, all of those principles are going to be relevant for that. Now, in this specific training section, we're going to go ahead and go over some of the details and some of the nuances and some of the differences when it comes to ad creative, specifically for the community strategy. Now, again, just a refresher on the actual process and what that actually looks like, okay, once you actually create the ads to run, you have your spice messaging. Spice messaging is going to be absolutely critical that you're going to be using throughout your ad copy and your ad creative. You're going to go ahead and set up and kick off your community. You're going to create your free valuable asset. And then this right here is what we're talking about in terms of the actual ads and launching, so that way you can give away your free asset in exchange for people joining your community. Okay, so a different visual of what this looks like, right? We got the automated social media ads that goes over to your landing page to give you their name, email address, and phone number, so that way you can reach out to them. Email marketing, SMS marketing, XYZ. From there, they're joining your community. You're nurturing them in your community. From there, you're getting them onto a quick chat, then onto a strategy session, and then they are becoming a paying client. And so again, the ad creative that you are creating throughout this entire process is all designed to go ahead and sell the heck out of your free asset, right? You want to make it so attractive that people are like, yo, this free asset, I definitely want that, because that is what's going to feed the rest of this entire pipeline. Now, when it comes to a couple tips regarding the ad creative specifically for the community and specifically actually for the free asset, number one tip is going to be all about showing off your free asset, right? So if your free asset is a guide, which is what we recommend when you are going ahead and starting out because it is a tangible thing, what you can do is you can actually show that it's an actual tangible physical thing. And so what you can do is you can actually go ahead and print out your guide, okay? And you can actually just go ahead and print out the cover of it. You don't even have to print out the rest of it, right? You don't have to print out all of it. What you can do is just print out the cover, and if you can make it in color, it's actually highly recommended, right? And then that way you can just have a bunch of blank sheets of paper on the back end of it, but the cover of it, you can show that it actually looks like a booklet. It actually looks like a physical thing, so that way you can actually show it off in your ad creative creative, whether that be an image ad or a video ad. Now, there are ways to make 3D mock-ups. Of course, obviously there are mini trainings and tech tutorials on all that kind of stuff, but there's nothing that beats like a physical picture of a physical thing. And something about the human psychology, right? Something about the human brain really is in tune with physical objects rather than digital objects, right? So when you can go ahead and take it from the digital realm, which is just like a digital PDF, and make it physical and it looks actually real in the real world, then it actually attracts more eyeballs as well. So again, that is going to be tip number one. Do you have to do this? Of course not. We have plenty of different image ads and video ads and ad creative that we've made with just digital versions of the free asset or the, whatever the free guide might be, but it is one tip that you can play around with, okay? The other thing when it comes to your ad creative is, especially when it comes to your video ad, explaining why it's free is also very beneficial, right? So a lot of times we as humans are just normally skeptical. And so explaining, hey, the reason why this is free is because da 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 da. And so this is an example of what you can include in your video script. Is like, hey, if you're wondering what's the catch, why is this person sharing this for free? We believe in good karma, right? Times have been crazy right now because times are always crazy. Human beings are always going limbic forever, right? Because that's how we're designed and programmed as humans, right? So times are crazy right now. We're hoping that if we give away tons of value, you'll work with us for one-on-one for free. And this is actually a concept that Robert Cialdini talks about in his book, Influence, which again is an amazing book that we would highly recommend that you go ahead and read. And when she talks about how the human brain, it doesn't even matter what you say after because, just because you say because, you could literally be like, yo, I got to skip in line because my cat died. I got to skip in line. I got to skip you in line because my foot hurts. I got to skip you in line because my glasses are black or whatever it might be. Just because you have a reason, a vast majority of the population is going to say, oh, okay, that makes sense. And that is enough to be able to subside their skepticism. How crazy is that, right? And so that's why when you learn influence and persuasion and you learn these strategies and tactics and you become a student of the human psychology, this is not only beneficial in business, but in life in general. And so this is one of those tips that we found is like people are skeptical. Hey, why is this free? And so you just give them a reason. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, cool. Hey, that makes sense. And then all of a sudden they trust you a lot more naturally because of that. So again, nothing really magical or mystical here when it comes to these specific tips, but just some pro tips that we thought we would mention that might be helpful for you. But other than that, for the most part, the ad creative that you create for the free asset, for the community strategy is going to be pretty much like all the other ad creative that you might create for any other type of strategy or offer. But again, if you have any questions about this, please make sure you do let us know inside of the student community and cultivate that community spirit. With that being said, I will catch you inside of the next training. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the action steps for the ad creative and the submission for the ad creative. So at this point, you have a lot of foundational knowledge, but now guess what? It's time for reps and reps and reps. And we talk about this all the time. Skill equals reps times knowledge is what I like to sometimes say, because especially beginners and newbies like to overvalue knowledge. And so it's better to go ahead and sometimes lean towards reps and action. And then you can always fill in the deficits of the knowledge that you have when you actually run into any issues. Okay, so action step number one is going to be about watching and studying all of the sections for this training. And then action step number two is going to be about creating 3 to 5 different ad creative. Again, remember, you are going to be running multiple ads, and no matter how hard you try, no matter some of the best guesses that you might put together, no matter what you think about your ad creative, the chances of your ad creative flopping once you actually put it in the marketplace are very high. No matter who anybody is, even if they have been marketing for a very long period of time, the chances are that the ad creative that you create is going to flop. And so what you want to do is you want to have as many variations as possible, because if you just go ahead and create like one ad creative and then you just put all of your eggs in that basket, and then guess what? Once you look at the numbers and once you launch it, if it doesn't work well, then guess what? You got to go ahead and open up the softwares again, get back into that creative mood and do all of that kind of stuff. But while you are in this mode right now, even before you launch your ad campaigns, you might as well take the time to go ahead and create a bunch of creative while you're in the zone. So that way you have a lot of things that you can test with different audiences and that kind of stuff. And so this is going to mean creating a mixture of both image ads and video ads, right? Creating different video frames, creating different video headlines, creating different image ads, all of that. You want to make sure that you have at least 3 to 5. If you can come up with even more than that, that's even better. And then after that, once you have that, action step number 3 is going to be all about submitting your community ad creative work. Now, again, we've mentioned this in the past. The developers of the school platform and the classroom platform are kind of messing around with different variations. So if you see a comment box underneath this specific training, then by all means, you can submit it there. If you don't see that, then you are going to go ahead and go over to the community and make a post. And then over there, you're going to go ahead and submit your work. Okay. Now the title for that is going to be Community Ad Creative Submission. Now, of course, just as always, the first half of it is going to be reserved for questions, okay? And then the second half is going to say, cool, here's my ad creative, here's link number 1, here's link number 2, here's link number 3, and you're going to go ahead and link all of your different ad creative. Now, if they are image ads, you can go ahead and put those image ads right there. If they are video ads, you can try and link or attach the video ads. If they do not go on there, you can go ahead and upload them over to loom.com, or you could upload them to youtube.com as well and make it unlisted, right? Whatever way, you got to go ahead and share it. Of course, don't be a remote control spoon-fed student, right? Find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. You will be able to go ahead and do it. But you can share all of your different ad creative, whether that be images and videos, and ideally a mixture of all of the above, okay? So again, if you don't have any questions, you can just do the submission. You want to learn how to be able to be organized, conscious, and deliberate in your writing. So please, please, please learn how to use the enter button on your keyboard and actually separate things and actually write things clearly out, so that way it is easy to understand. A couple tech pro tips: use hyperlinks when you are doing that. Hyperlinks are a phenomenal tool, right? How you create hyperlinks, you just click on that kind of paperclip icon, you have the highlight of the word, and then you go ahead and put the URL in there. It makes all of the posts a lot easier. And then if you're going to be submitting anything that is on Google, make sure you go ahead and mess around with the permission, so that way everybody can see it. And then as always, here are the couple 3 rules in terms of learning in a community. Number 1, how to ask for feedback: empowered asking versus lazy asking. Make sure you are making it a 6-inch putt and making it easy for other people to actually give you feedback. Number 2, make sure you understand that this is a community, not a bunch of gurus on a mountain, okay? So please cultivate those relationships by actually posting and asking the entire community and not just asking only the coaches. And then as you are submitting, okay, as you submit and you're looking for feedback on your thing, right? You want people to comment on your post. If you want people to comment on your post, why are you not commenting on other people's posts? And so if you comment on other people's posts and other people's submissions and give them feedback, then you're going to get comments on yours. And if you are not getting comments on your submission, that means that you are probably not cultivating those relationships and commenting on other people's submissions, okay? So ask one, give one, okay? This is literally how the universe works. It's all about reciprocity. And so if you want to get more input and more encouragement and more community and more relationships on your post, make sure you are going ahead and doing that over to other people's posts as well. So those are the 3 rules with that. That is the action steps when it comes to the ad creative. I know you're going to go out there and absolutely crush it and do amazing with this. We can't wait to see all of the amazingness that you drop inside of the student community, as well as your journey going through this entire process and learning these new skills. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is Coach Yasin checking out, and I will catch you on the next training.